Welcome back to the Dynasty Football Key. Thank you all for jumping in here with us today. Hey, really appreciate it. Hey, I've got a very special episode for you. Today, I'm going to be introducing a very, very good guest who provides nothing but cutting edge content. He called Amon-Ra St. Brown from miles away, leading to me having him in almost every league last year because of him. Thank you, TD from Fantasy Good Sports. Welcome.
Yes, sir, bro. I appreciate you having me, man. I appreciate you having me.
Yes, sir. Hey, TD, he knows players. So I thought it'd be fun to have him on here, share his thoughts on my wide receiver dynasty tiers. And, after that, guys, we're going to do a rookie mock draft. So we're going to get y'all the link out here in a little bit. Go ahead and fill that up. But TD, before we get started, can you introduce yourself and let the people know where to find you?
Yeah, guys. Fantasy Good Sports, as you see behind me. I got a YouTube channel. I've been doing this to be my 4th year. I'm a little bit. I got like 2,800 subscribers, and I kind of just my content is not very. I don't use a lot of stats, but I'm more of a scout. I'm very good at scouting players and predicting players to boom at like in a scout coach perspective. So, guys, if you want cutting edge content, you want a guy to beat to his own drum, not really go off to what consensus are saying, then I think I have good content. Now, I do watch other people's content because I do like numbers. I think numbers do validate what you're saying, but I don't think numbers do it all. And if you watch anything in history, numbers have never validated everything. But so yeah, that's my content, man. And I'm providing cutting edge content. I'm beating to my own drum, and I believe that I'm 70%. If you watch all my takes from guys who's going to boom from year to year, I think I'm about 70%.
Yes, sir, man. And hey, I seen it. I believe it. A lot of good calls on player takes. I think they used to call you coach back in the day, right? Because I mean, you just always
Coach
be in
Goody.
the Coach Goody. Yep.
Yeah.
Man. So I know you know your game, man. So let's go ahead, jump into this ranking list here. Let me know if you can see my screen here, guys. All right. So let's start it off. I mean, I know people are going to have some questions. This is kind of spicy already. I know it. I got 5 people in my wide receiver tier 1, the S tier, the money tier. And I've got my reasonings, but let's go ahead and list it off for the people that are on the listening only. CeeDee Lamb, the wide receiver 1 from 2023. I've got him as the wide receiver 1 in Dynasty right now. And I've got Justin Jefferson, wide receiver 2, Jamar Chase, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and someone who hasn't even been drafted in the NFL yet, Marvin Harrison Jr. So I'm going to tell you real quick, TD. Hey, I really believe in CeeDee Lamb. I like the Cowboys. I like what they're doing. This is a team where the coaching staff has favorites, and they love CeeDee Lamb. Before he was even drafted, they handpicked him to have the number 88, and they have fed him the ball ever since then. They got rid of Amari Cooper when they didn't even need to, just to make sure that CeeDee Lamb could be featured in that offense. And he's done nothing but produce. He's got a quarterback in Dak Prescott, who, although is not being extended currently, we'll see what the future holds at that quarterback position. I would say his quarterback situation is much better than Justin Jefferson's right now. It's, I would say, the same as Jamar Chase's. And, really just like what CeeDee Lamb was able to do. This is a really good player. And with Justin Jefferson, we all know what Justin Jefferson can do. He's broken so many records at this point where I know a lot of people do have him as the wide receiver 1. And, that makes sense. But without Kirk Cousins being there anymore, he himself coming off an injury, Justin Jefferson, he bounced back from that. But, they drafted the number 1, a wide receiver in Jordan Addison in the first round. So, there's not necessarily tough competition, but Addison proved he could step up when Justin Jefferson was down this past season. So I really think that CeeDee Lamb has no competition around him, whereas Justin Jefferson at least has a threat in Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson, even Aaron Jones. And this might just be a down season overall if they do end up just going with the JJ McCarthy in the draft. And hey, I'll say that with Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, that's a guy who I actually would like to put at wide receiver 1. We just haven't seen the numbers follow, and that's just
Correct.
what it is. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, this is the guy who I continuously see in tiers below here. And TD, this is something you taught me, man. This guy is going to produce. He is one of the best receivers in the league. He's got a stable quarterback situation, regardless of what you think of that quarterback. He's not going anywhere. This Lions team is all in. I think Amon-Ra St. Brown is one of the safest assets you can have in Dynasty. Look at the ages here. Amon-Ra is the same age as pretty much all these guys in the same range other than Marvin Harrison Jr. There's nothing other than the draft capital when they first were drafted that would set them apart. And I think people still have that in the back of their mind for why they're not willing to put Amon-Ra in the same tier as these guys. And the reason I do have the other guys at least ahead of him is because if I know I can trade away a CeeDee Lamb and get Amon-Ra plus, I'll do that.
Right.
I'll do that today. And then Marvin Harrison Jr., hey, it's a bit of a reach. And really, I wanted to update these tiers after Malik Neighbors' pro day today. But, man, Marvin Harrison Jr., this guy, he just looks incredible. I've been watching the film a little bit more seriously, and this guy is just so good. I like the size. His body size reminds me of a CeeDee Lamb, and I just think he's got everything he needs to get drafted highly, especially from all the reports we're hearing. And, really just think he's going to have a good career ahead of him. So want to give you the floor, TD. What do you think of this tier list here so far?
I like it. I love it 90%. 90% of the guys you got, I agree with. And I actually respect the guy that I don't agree with, and you probably know who that guy is. But I love that you got CD now. The rankings that you have in this tier, I could push back. What I would say about Justin Jefferson, and I saw it this year with Nick Mullins throwing him the ball. It doesn't matter. Especially when you have a coach that's going to draw up plays for him, that's bigger than a guy that's even more talented. So no matter who's playing quarterback for Justin Jefferson, they're going to draw up 15 plays a game to try to get him the ball. And he's probably going to get about 11 catches a game when he's healthy, 12 catches a game. None of these other guys, to me, they don't need, their team doesn't need them to be hyper-targeted to win. CeeDee Lamb, if the good running back goes to Dallas, it could hurt CeeDee. Last year, what helped CeeDee Lamb, Tony Pollard didn't. Boom. So I love CeeDee Lamb. I love that hyper-targets him. And I like that they even got into it this year. I think it makes them even better because they're going to grow together. So I respect that you're having CD number 1, and I love that you put Justin Jefferson over Jamar in a dynasty rankings, because in dynasty, no matter who his quarterback is, you got a guy who's going to be super targeted.
Yep.
And always going to get lead the team in targets. With Cincinnati, I don't believe they always going to use Jamar Chase every single time, every single game, like they're going to use Justin Jefferson. They could have a strong run game. Like, even though Joe Mixon is not there, they can run the ball heavily. Same thing with Amon-Ra St. Brown. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown, but it was basically the value. So the guy that I don't agree with per se is Marvin Harrison. And let me tell you why. He could.
Why is that?
It depends on the landing spot. So if he lands to the right team, like if he goes to Arizona, you could be right. But I think by him not being a hyper athletic guy, being a more of a route technician, I compared him to Devontae Adams. I believe that like guys like Sauce Gardner and other tough corners, even Sneed, who just got traded to the Tennessee Titans, could give him a hard time because he don't have an NFL body yet. Pause. He don't have the muscle to get off the line of scrimmage against tough, good corners and man-to-man. Now, listen, if you play off of him, he's going to beat you every time. I don't care if Sauce Gardner or whoever. His route running, his knowledge of the game with his father is impeccable. But how you beat a young wide receiver for his stature is bump and run. And I think he's going to struggle some games against good, solid corners, and it's going to cause him probably to be a top 24 guy that's going to be saved in and be a top 5 guy. But after this year, I mean, if you wanted to put him there, I would have totally agree. But who knows? Like I said, you still could be right. I just wouldn't put him there right now.
Yep. Yeah, hey, and the thing is, we know the hit rate for a lot of these first round players is closer to 50% than we would like to think. So it's a little bit dangerous, but wanted to go ahead and just get them in here, man. So I appreciate the feedback on those. So let's go ahead and pull this off and let's jump into the next tier. All right, in tier A, we've got Puka Nakua at number 6, Garrett Wilson, number 7, AJ Brown, Malik Neighbors, Tyreek Hill, Chris Olave, Drake London, and Nico Collins. All right, man, Puka, great season, one of the best rookie seasons we've ever seen from any player. Guy was drafted very late. This is kind of one of those Amon-Ra St. Brown situations, except Puka hit from the jump. And he was good right off the bat, and people still took a little while to catch on to it. I traded for him in some spots, but man, it was really tough to deny what he did. And I think that bias is still even in my head. It was hard to get him up here, but I just said, nah, I'm gonna give him his respect. If he can't do it again next year, that's fine. But he's in a great situation with Matthew Stafford. I like the fact that he does have someone to take away defenders on the other side in Cooper Kupp. So I think Puka has no reason not to be able to do what he did again. And his last game of the season was in the playoffs, and he went off. 181 yards, I think. So he just continued to ball. Garrett Wilson, this is the guy who just has some of the highest targets. Let me get the numbers up here. Garrett Wilson, he was a target monster, man. Really bad quarterback play. So I don't have to go too deep into Garrett Wilson's situation. We know that if Aaron Rodgers can be healthy, then he's going to be in store for a good season. AJ Brown, really high points per game, 17 points per game. That's in his range. I'm looking for people that are producing. So, like Malik Neighbors, this is someone I think is going to be able to produce right off the jump. He's got that 4.35 speed. Really explosive player. He showed today at his LSU Pro Day. Had the 10'9" broad jump and the 42.5-inch vertical. I mean, this guy is explosive. I was talking. I play in campus to Canton leagues where you have a college team and you also have a dynasty team, and instead of rookie draft picks, you just already have college players, and you can start them in the lineup too. Right? Yeah, but I'm actually starting the college players and getting points for them. So there's like a separate side where you can win a title on the college side only, and then you have a separate side for the dynasty team where you can win over there. And on my bachelor party, I had just drafted my campus to Canton team like a month before. And the first game of the season, we're in Vegas. First game is LSU, maybe versus Appalachian State or Alabama. I can't remember. It's something with the A. And everybody was looking at Kayshon Boutte, but I was like, y'all need to be watching for Malik Neighbors. This guy can cook. And he ends up showing that he can be a number one target in that offense with a lot of competition in Brian Thomas Jr. And that team had a Heisman winning quarterback. So, he made him look good, or they made each other look good, but really good chemistry. I like what he can do at the next level. So we got Tyreek Hill. This is just one of the best producers we've seen at the wide receiver position.
Yes, sir.
I think I got roasted in one of my first ranking videos for having Tyreek in the B tier because I was, really heavily weighting the age. And one of the things I decided was you got to focus on the windows that people are trying to win. Okay. So Tyreek Hill, he's going to be healthy. This next 2 seasons, he did come out and say, "Hey, I'm retiring after this contract." Maybe he doesn't, but at the end of his contract, he'll be 32, I believe. His game is predicated on speed. Maybe he wants to just get ahead of that because he said he wants to get into streaming and stuff like that. But right now, Tyreek Hill's been one of the most dominating wide receivers we've had in the game. You can see here he's one of the highest with receiving yards. So, Tyreek Hill is really killing it for us. Going to keep playing him. As long as he's out there, he's a good option. And Chris Olave, really young player, came in the league right off the ground running. He was actually drafted behind Drake London in real life and just showed that he can be consistent, produce a year in, a year out. Overtook Michael Thomas immediately. Overcame a lot of, just okay offense and still demanding a lot of targets. And now Drake London, he also raised from my last version of this type of rankings where he gets Kirk Cousins, I like where there was a stat I saw where every one of Kirk Cousins' previous wide receiver ones, they're like top 10 wide receivers. And I mean, he just continues to just be really, able to support and lock in on a number one wide receiver. And then Nico Collins, he's connected to young platinum arm God, as some of our Carolina friends like to say. The Carolina Panthers very sad they didn't get C.J. Stroud, and Nico Collins is benefiting from that. And this really just elevated his career. Maybe Collins was always really good. This guy's 6'4". He's got that prototypical size and got some speed. But with the C.J. Stroud, you hope they re-sign Nico Collins, because one of the other tough parts is Tank Dell or Nico Collins. That's a tough call. But either way, man, I like what these guys can do. So what do you think of this A tier?
I like the A tier. It's only one, well, I would say two players that I would contest a little bit. I think you should swap Marvin Harrison and Tyreek Hill, and the reason why.
Okay.
Tyreek Hill is dynasty, but
yeah.
I always tell people, you play dynasty to win championships. You don't play dynasty to show people off your young studs. So that's the difference with me, the way I rank. That's why I'm like, if I could buy on Tyreek Hill for a second round pick, which nobody probably gonna really do that, I would definitely do that. But I believe I was flip Tyreek and Marvin Harrison Jr. Malik Neighbors, I like him. I think he's more of a yak guy. I don't know if his route running is good, but I don't think you really have to have the route running. I think his speed, if he can get past these DBs, he's going to make guys that are maybe more technical sound or have better technique and stronger, but he's going to be able to beat them with his speed. So his pro day was very, very important to me. I actually moved him up a little bit because I liked a few other guys a little bit over him. But the speed shows me that he can push, beat defenses and make defenses put safety over the top of him, which helps everybody out. And I believe speed is more important than route running now with this NFL. AJ Brown, I've been on AJ Brown. That was one of the first guys that I talked about when I did my channel. I always called him AJ Brown, new brother in town. The Doo-Doo Brown song. I don't know if you're familiar with the Doo-Doo Brown song, but Garrett Wilson is very good. He just had quarterback problems. I think Aaron Rodgers is going to hyper target him. Puka Nacua is a guy that grew on me that I wasn't on. I'm not going to take any credit for this guy. He came out of nowhere. I can't scout everybody. And I'm going to tell you what sold me. I thought the guy, I was like, after this year, I'm like, this guy's solid. He's getting hyper targeted. And then I was sadly mistaken. When I saw him play in the NBA All-Star game,
Yeah.
I said, oh my God, this guy is a phenom. Man, did you see him out there at the All-Star game? He's physically
that was like right after
fit.
him doing the baseball game too for the Travis Scott thing.
I didn't see that.
Yeah, he had like a run of 3 days where he played 3 different sports, because he was in the Pro Bowl, then did the baseball celebrity game, I think, for HBCUs for Travis Scott, and then right after that he was in the NBA All-Star game. I'm like, this guy is cooking.
Right. So I'm thinking, guys, everybody like Cooper Kupp. I like Cooper Kupp, but I think he's going to be the hyper targeted guy. You saw it in the playoff game. Now you can say Cooper Kupp was hurt. I think Cooper Kupp is a guy that's going to be nicked up. You know, he already had not a terrible, but he had an ACL tear. So he's not going to be like, he's not that fast. And that's fine. He's still going to be a great underneath route runner. But in order for this team to go to the next level, and I think Matthew Stafford could be a sleeper MVP candidate, I think they're going to have hyper target Puka Nacua if he can stay healthy. Puka Nacua is him. If you wanted to put Puka Nacua up there, that would be saucy. But I would understand it. I'd rather put him up there than Marvin Harrison. But we only see 1 year from Puka, so I understand. Nico Collins, I like that you put him up there, man. Nico, I didn't think he could run routes the way he did. When C.J. Stroud got there, all of a sudden Nico was running great routes. It shows you what a good quarterback can do. The game has changed, man. The game has completely changed. Drake London has had bad quarterback play, so you have to look over that and put him where he's supposed to be. I still think he is a second-tier guy that you got him. Chris Olave, that's one of the guys that I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah, I heard your content. I was surprised you a little lower on it, but is it there's no explosion? Really? You think it's more because
No,
he's
no,
just a
he explosive, man. He was more explosive than Jackson Smith and Jigba and Marvin Harrison Jr. when they played.
yeah,
But
but
he's smaller, bruh. He's a small
yeah,
guy. See,
yeah,
Amon-Ra St. Brown is short, but he's built like a running back. So is Tyreek Hill. So is Puka Nacua. These guys are sturdy. Pause.
yeah,
So I think Chris Olave, when you laying pads on him and you putting your hands on, that's what I'm talking about. Even Marvin Harrison is going to struggle with that his rookie year. When these physical grown men, it's just like your father. You remember when you turn 17, 18, you're like, okay, I work out.
that
And then your
grown man
father,
strength.
like that grown man strength is
Yeah,
something else, bro.
yeah,
So I believe that he struggles against grown man strength. And I think he should be one of the best slot receivers in the game. I think they
okay,
should move and let him play slot and draft a wide receiver, or maybe use A.T. Perry and Rashid Shaheed on the outside and let Chris
yeah.
Olave get 10 targets a game in the slot.
I
And I
hope they use
believe
A.T. Perry more.
he could be a top 12 guy.
Yeah, I agree, man. And just a quick correction. You were going in order, and I thought you were talking about C.J. Stroud at the All-Star game, who also was looking good. He was the one that was at the Travis Scott game and
Oh, okay.
after the Pro Bowl. So that was my bad. And I wanted to quickly note two things. So Nico Collins, for those that are worried, the splits of him with Tank Dell in and out of the lineup. 9 games with Tank Dell, 7.4 targets, 5.1 receptions, 80 yards, half a touchdown, and 16.4 fantasy points. And then at the 8 games without Tank Dell, it's pretty much the same. You'll notice, just about a point and a half more without Tank Dell in the lineup. So these guys have been able to work well together. For people that are worried about, well, hey, Tank Dell's coming back, so that's going to take away from Nico Collins. I don't see that. So the shout out to this guy Nick Pinnakoff for that stat. And I did have one more that I wanted to drop before we move on about Drake London, where I was on a podcast recently with the FF Dynasty. Shout out to those guys. One of their contributors, Austin Abbott, really great follow. He had this stat I saw about Drake London and Kirk Cousins' #1 wide receiver finishes by year. So 2022 wide receiver 1, doesn't matter who the player was, but that's who Kirk Cousins was supporting. In 2021, he had the wide receiver 4 on his team. In 2020, it was the wide receiver 6. 2019, it was a wide receiver 24. And in 2018, there was actually 2 players in the top 10, wide receiver 7 and wide receiver 10. So London's in a good spot with Kirk Cousins. He just has to hope that Cousins gets a full recovery off that injury. But with the way that contract was so heavily guaranteed, I think the Falcons were either desperate or they believe they were very confident in what the recovery for Kirk
that
Cousins
ain't no money. I want people to understand that. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but I just want to get that in real quick before you moved on. Bro, that's not really no money. Quarterback. So quarterback money, bro, that's elite is $65 million. That's elite money. $50 million is a discount.
Okay.
$50 million is a discount.
I was focused on the guaranteed part of it.
That's why Dak Prescott wants $60 million. That's like going rate for a top 12 quarterback. So we gotta grow, guys. Just like right now, like the what would you call it? The when stuff go up, the grocery stores and gas go up. What you call that? Inflation. And we got to grow with the inflation. Kirk Cousins was a good deal. Now, do you want to go and get a multi-year deal on an older quarterback? That's the question. But as far as what they got him for, that money, that's not even money. Look what Geno got last year. Geno got guaranteed 70-80 million. Geno Smith.
Yeah. All right, man. That's a good point. Hey, TD, can you mind go ahead and jump in the mock draft? I sent it to the Twitter link. I just want to make sure you get your spot before I send it out to everybody else.
Okay.
All right, and then I'm going to go ahead, guys, with the next tier B. Oh, a little preview. Next tier, don't try to see that quite yet. All right, so at number 14, I got Rome Odunze, another rookie out of Washington. He was in that college championship game. Brandon Ayuk, Jalen Waddle, DJ Moore, Michael Pittman, Devonta Smith, Rashee Rice, Tank Dell. All right, so with Rome Odunze, I think I might as well just start off with another little stat here. So Matt Harmon, he's the
Perception.
reception perception founder, and recently came out with some reception perception for some of the receivers here. And he said that Rome Odunze is the first player with the all green reception perception. And this guy can run a lot of routes, and he's physical. He's got the size. I believe it's 6'3". And really, you just got to factor in the conference since it's not the SEC. What's the competition like? But I think this guy's really good, man. Um, and he wasn't the reason they lost that game. He still played really well, so I give him a lot of credit for what he's been able to do. It's pretty high, but a lot of what I'm doing is factoring in what I'm hearing from the college scout, or excuse me, the NFL draft analysts to where players are going, and just trying to factor in like who's going to get an opportunity to be a number one wide receiver. And Brandon Ayuk, he is capable of being the number one wide receiver. He was making some noise this week for potentially wanting to get traded, but the Niners are saying they don't want to trade him. They're coming off a Super Bowl. I wouldn't be surprised if he's trying to get an extension. Like
Right.
how many times has he gone to the Super Bowl with this team? Twice, right? So
Right.
maybe that's more of what it is. But still, there's a Deebo Samuel, there's a George Kittle, there's a Christian McCaffrey. Everyone's asking for targets. So I'm shooting for upside with the Rome Odunze rookie that maybe he can get that shot. You got to, again, remember, guys, that we're thinking about different perspectives. If it's a startup draft and I'm going into it trying to win now, then I'm not just going for all these rookies. But if there's an
Right.
established league and I know the situation, then maybe I prefer to go with the 22-year-old versus the 26-year-old
Correct.
because I've got different things that I consider as the age cliff and the age window. And, for wide receiver, it's a little bit later than a running back. But, I've got like 31 to 34 years old for a wide receiver. And it's more just like the trade market. Again, I want to at least be ahead of that instead of letting the players retire on my roster. Ayuk is not anywhere near there. I'm not saying that at all. Just some of the reasons I might go with the younger player. Jalen Waddle, when his first season, he showed that he can produce in the league. With Tyreek Hill, he has some more down seasons, but still been able to produce. It just seems like because they prioritize Tyreek Hill, Waddle's money is coming from these big plays for fantasy at least. So it's a little bit harder to depend on. And it doesn't. I'm not sold that the team believes Tua is their guy going forward. So it just depends on what's going on there. But I do love the player a lot. Like the speed. I like how everyone on that team is fast. So it's hard to guard anyone. DJ Moore, this is someone that I'm just never going to fade. I believe that even with Keenan Allen, he can produce. I do think in 2024 is going to hurt though. I am really high on Caleb Williams because of all the options that he's going to have. But long term, Keenan Allen is very old. I'm not too worried about the dynasty value for DJ Moore. This is a guy who came in as one of the best athletes at the wide receiver position. Michael Pittman Jr. just got that contract extension. I feel safe with him. Growing with Anthony Richardson. What else he got to prove? Really, he doesn't have a ton of competition. I do like Josh Downs. It's just we'll see what they do. I feel pretty good about him. And in this range, I am looking for number ones at the position. Devonta Smith, he is a number two, but I don't. This is a guy that is just an incredible player. Heisman winner, been to the Super Bowl, really good character. I like this guy a lot. He can play, he can produce. Rashee Rice in his first season with the Kansas City Chiefs coming out of SMU, man, he did everything he was asked to do. I do see this team potentially adding a receiver. I'm not sure about him being the number one, but Kelsey is the oldest tight end in the league. Eventually, there's a scenario where Rashee Rice is at minimum just always the number two for Patrick Mahomes. I know
Right.
they got Marquise Brown in there. Not too worried about that long term. It's just a 1 year deal. And then we got Tank Dell with CJ Stroud. This guy, he, right out of Houston, they, CJ Stroud called it. This guy can just get open. It's hard for anyone to stay with this guy. He had that injury at the end of the season. It was just a freak accident, a blocking play where he got rolled up on. Seems like he's going to be fine. One of the fastest players in the league is a hard player to guard. So what do you think about this tier, TD?
I like this tier. I really don't have anything to say. I could go and fight with you on the rookies, but who knows what these rookies are going to do? We don't know where they're going. If Oduzzi goes to the right place, I mean, he could be one of the best wide receivers as a rookie. I love the Ayuk. I love the Waddle. I love the DJ Moore. I love the Michael Pittman. And Michael Pittman has moved up. I never thought he was a bad player. He didn't really hit his ceilings the first years in the league, first couple years. Now, what I see what he did with Anthony Richardson, he's there. He's kind of moved up like a Nico Collins to me. Devontae Smith could easily be in the number 2 over Chris Olave. I love Devontae Smith. Jalen Hurts struggled a little bit, so they kind of hurt Devontae Smith. Rashee Rice, I don't know. I think he's going to be the number 2 option there, but to me, he's more of like to me, the way they got him the ball was kind of like Mecole Hardman, but I think he's a better route runner than Mecole Hardman. But he had a lot of screens. If you look at, I love to look at his average depth per reception. I think it's probably low, but that's okay. You still playing with an Andy Reid offense. He runs hard. I think he's a good player. I just don't know if he necessarily. I think it's a year-to-year basis with him. So in Dynasty, I would try to sell high on him and get and draft one of these rookies. Just for the fact that Andy Reid don't need anybody outside of Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce.
It's incredible.
Yeah, that's the only 2 guys that he needs. Anybody else is a rotating tree. Pacheco, I would sell high on Pacheco too. We're not talking about running backs, but I just don't trust anybody on that offense because he don't need them.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Mahomes
drafts a bust and just keeps going.
Right.
Clyde Edwards-Helaire don't work out. It's okay. I'll still win and get a few free Super Bowl rings.
Right. They drafted CEH over Jonathan Taylor. Did anybody ever? Do people know that?
I do. I keep wondering that,
over
man.
Jonathan Taylor.
So my wife is from Kansas, and so I'm all in with the Kansas City side of the house, man. And that's just crazy how they operate and still win because they got the best quarterback.
Right. And Tank Dell, to me, he has to stay healthy. He's a smaller guy, so the only thing, if he stays healthy, I love him in this tier. I love that you looking towards the future. You're not just going off of what guys what they've done in the past, like Marvin Harrison. That's why I didn't really want to say a lot about that because I understand it. You got to look going forward. Tank Dell going forward could easily be in tier 2, the A tier. So I love that list, man. That list I probably agree with more than any list that you've had. The other tiers. I love that 3rd tier.
Appreciate it. All right, and before we go on to the next tier, everybody make sure to like and share this content. Man, appreciate everyone for showing up today. I want to go ahead and get this link out to y'all just to try to fill up this mock draft. So I'm going to post it in the chat. We got a 12-team Superflex Dynasty rookie mock draft, just rookies only. We're going to go 5 rounds. We'll start that off in a little bit. Just posted that in the chat. All right, let's go ahead and jump into the next tier. And I might have to just get rid of that. Okay. All right, so we got in C tier T. Higgins, Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, George Pickens, Jaden Reed, DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Deebo Samuel, Stephon Diggs, Devontae Adams, and Mike Evans. All right, T. Higgins, this is a guy who is attached to Joe Burrow right now. He's asking for a trade if he becomes the number 1 on another team. I like that. I like Joe Burrow more than I like T. Higgins on another team, though. I'll just be honest about that. I like what Joe Burrow can bring to the table. He went to the Super Bowl really early on. This is a guy you want to be attached to if you're a receiver in the league. Zay Flowers, he's scoring fantasy points at a young age. He's already shown he can be the number 1 wide receiver. The Ravens have drafted a first-round wide receiver year after year after year, basically 3 years in a row. Bateman, they're saying, is going to get more targets this year. Zay has a good ability to get open, so that's great for Lamar Jackson because he's already putting the defense on edge when he's running in the open field, and then all he needs is Zay Flowers to break loose, and he can just take one to the house.
Correct.
And you see how they changed some of these rules. This is one of the teams that sparked that rule with Mark Andrews getting injured with the hip drop tackle. And I just think it's gonna be harder and harder to bring some of these really elusive yak guys
Woo!
down. You know what I'm saying? It's
30
gonna be
point,
crazy
40
for fantasy.
points.
Yeah,
Right.
you
There's gonna
said
be a
it.
lot of points scored. I'm telling you. It's
Yeah,
like the NBA.
yeah. They want offense. They want more offense, and
Right.
and we're gonna get it too. All right, so Jordan Addison, he took over for an injured Justin Jefferson, proved he can do it. They drafted him to do, and I like when guys have that duo where we've seen multiple times where guys can be top 12 wide receivers in the same offense. May not be this year. It may just be Justin Jefferson eating. There was a thing where when Devontae Adams was, even still now, but a lot of times I called it was like a black hole of targets with Devontae Adams. Like if you're another receiving option with Devontae Adams, sorry, don't draft that guy. But Jordan Addison has proven he can still produce with all these other targets around. I like what he can do. George Pickens, he's a bit of a riser with Deontay Johnson getting moved out. He's now with the Carolina Panthers, so George Pickens has a chance to be wide receiver one. I've already predicted Steelers are going to be drafting Troy Franklin in the first round. Maybe that's the reach because there's a lot of talent at some other positions, but I'm going with Troy Franklin to the Steelers in the first round. I don't think they're just going to let Pickens and Pat Freiermuth be the only options here. Still like what he was able to do at the end of the year. He has some boom games there. Jaden Reed, really good points per game right out the gate in his rookie season. A lot of targets, but no one expected Jordan Love and that team to do what they can do. I like the coach as well. Not all these teams have that dynamic where the coach is just someone that's also kind of getting the boost, like the Brandon Ayuk with Shanahan, and they're all from that same tree, out of Packers too. So I like what those type of coaches can do. Same with Puka Nacua and Sean McVay. Anyway, DK Metcalf, this team's loaded. They're ready, man. They've got all these pieces. And they made sure they got a backup quarterback. DK is just a freak athlete, man. I'm not. So there's a thing where you can play for a stable producer, but sometimes you just need to win a week. And DK has that
Right.
ability to win a week. That's possible.
Come
Like
on
maybe
now.
he's going to average. Maybe he has a game where he get 8, and then another game where he get 24. Versus someone who's always getting you that 12. Give
Right.
me some of that upside with DK Metcalf.
Come
Jackson
on.
Smith-Njigba, the team drafted him in the first round. They knew that they want him to eventually take over for Tyler Lockett, but Tyler still got some juice in the tank. But we know what the plan is. Historically, you want your wide receivers that's in the first round to produce a lot more than this year. So it's actually kind of a mark against him. That's something you got to be a little worried about. I'm personally willing to trade Jackson Smith-Njigba in certain situations if I can get the right value.
Woo.
It just depends. But Deebo Samuel, just because I know everyone's still really high on him, but
Right.
Deebo
Right.
Samuel is more the age why I got him down here. But this is a really explosive guy. You can still see there's a high points per game, 16, and the offense is really good. He's somebody that Purdy goes to a lot. Stephon Diggs, with Gabe Davis leaving, we'll see who they replace him with, but it's going to be a receiver. So, it's going to be a rookie receiver. So I don't think I don't see how Diggs is not getting hyper targeted this year. And Devontae Adams, I just mentioned him. He just have Jacoby Myers there with him, and they were able to coexist. Maybe there's an upgraded quarterback even in the draft. Maybe they go Michael Penix, but they did get Gardner Minshew, and he went to the Pro Bowl. Without even having the offseason thinking he was a starter. I heard it's still a competition between him and Aiden O'Connell, but either way, Devontae Adams is going to eat, and Mike Evans, same thing. He's going to eat too. This guy's really good. We know Mike Evans is. I don't even. He's still producing. Just signed a new contract for a couple more years, so that's the green light for me to keep drafting him at least this year on the first year of that deal. So, what do you think about this tier?
I like it. It's straight up dynasty. You got the guys. These guys produce and redraft, but these guys you're not buying on unless you need it. I would call this a championship tier. Most of these guys, like if you want to win a championship, you go buy on some of these guys. Stephon Diggs is a great buy. Devontae Adams, Mike Evans might cost a little bit more than what you want to. Debo is a great buy. DK is a great buy. George Pickens is a great buy. T. Higgins could be a great buy. I don't know. It just depends on your league. I don't know what people think of him. I think these are win now players, but for Dynasty, I think you got them ranked perfectly. The only one I would fight you on was Jackson Smith and Jigba. I wasn't high on. I like Zay Flowers over him because of speed. But when it comes to straight up route running, and he's strong too. Now you got to look. He reminds me of Amon-Ra St. Brown. I'm not saying he's Amon-Ra, but he could put up numbers that Amon-Ra put up if he was in the right offense. So I think Jackson Smith and Jigba, actually, if somebody wants to get off of him, get him. Don't spend a first round pick because all you're doing is being redundant. He was a first round value last year. But if you can get a second, I'm definitely buying low on him. Debo is a guy, it's like you said about DK Metcalf. They are win their guys. Bro, I love that you said that. A lot of people don't understand that. You know, I got a lot of flack for Christian Watson, but that's what Christian Watson is for me, is what you said with DK. He can win me a week. Win week players is what win you fantasy football championships. Having Tyreek Hill and Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson don't necessarily win you a championship. They get you to the playoffs. You got to have you know how many teams lose to like teams that have these volatile guys like DK Metcalf and stuff like that?
Yeah.
It happens all the time. So, brother, I love that your C class. I think it's one of the best tiers that you have as far as me agreeing with it. That's just what I agree.
All right. We'll keep moving through this. And when you get a chance, go ahead and share the link with your squad too on your end, TD. All right. That link for the mock draft. And then here in D tier, I'm going to try to go a little bit quicker. Brian Thomas Jr., he's going to have his part of the LSU Pro Day. I believe his part is tomorrow. I don't think we got the numbers back yet. Cooper Kupp, Xavier Worthy, Keenan Allen, Amari Cooper, Christian Watson, who you just mentioned, Calvin Ridley, Christian Kirk, Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin, Terry McLaurin, and Adonai Mitchell, Troy Franklin, Marquise Brown, Lab McConkey. It gets tough with the receivers. There's a lot of receivers to fit into these tiers. So I had to make it 2 rows here. So Brian Thomas Jr., 6'3", really fast wide receiver. I think in the high 4.3 range, something like that. Cooper Kupp, we know what he is. It's just the age is starting to get to him, and he has had the injuries, so it's not just a speculation. And he has another player that can command targets as well. But hey, if someone's giving away for a second, like you said, I'll still take a shot in the win now mode.
Right.
Xavier Worthy, fastest player ever in NFL history at the combine. And the history says the fastest players at the combine do not produce for fantasy, unfortunately. And sorry, let me fix the camera here for us. And I'll get you back, TD, in a second.
That's fine.
And so Keenan Allen. So with him being with the Bears, that's a little bit tough. But I'm not worried about it. I think it's good for the offense to have a really good player like DJ Moore opposite of him. Keenan Allen's always had a really good, Mike Williams on the other side. So I think he'll be all right. It's hard to project, but look at those points per game. 21 points per game from Keenan Allen. I know he was the only option there last year, but this is what this guy does. I'm not fading the talent just because he's on a new team. Amari Cooper continues to produce wherever he goes. They added Jerry Jeudy, but just haven't seen it from Jerry Jeudy to think that Cooper can't produce. And then Christian Watson, I just love the team. It's so hard for these defenders to guard all of these different players when you got a Christian Watson burning down the field, and you got to watch for Jaden Reed, who's catching everything around the middle, and you got a Josh Jacobs is blowing you up, every play, just wearing down the defense. So this is a scary team, scary young team next year, and he could just get open. And like you said, you might just get that, 1 or 2 touchdowns. If you remember his first season where he had the most touchdowns of anybody, like the last 6 games of the season, just going off.
Right.
And then, Calvin Ridley, newly signed to the Titans, got competition with DeAndre Hopkins, but really massive contract. We know he's going to get those yards. Christian Kirk is now by himself. In Jags land, we expect them to draft someone most definitely 100%. But still, Kirk's getting his. I'll take that. Deontay Johnson, we saw what Adam Thielen could do. He was scoring a ton of points at the beginning of the season, but he just didn't have the juice or the help to sustain that the rest of the season. You're hoping for a step forward with Bryce Young. The coach there, David Canales, has been able to really help a lot of these quarterbacks just improve, like a Geno Smith and the Baker Mayfield. So we'll see what he can do with Bryce Young. I love what the Panthers are doing, though. They made another move today to get Jadeveon Clowney, and I'm actually using a mock from the Panthers website for mock here coming up. Okay, so Chris Godwin. He had one of those number one wide receiver seasons, not number one overall, but up there. He's good. He'll get you some solid points. Same with Terry McLaurin, just a steady Eddie. And this year he may get his best quarterback ever in the draft. And they're going to be a rookie, but it has not mattered who Terry has had throwing him the ball. He's been producing. And then I got a few rookies down here at the bottom. Adonai Mitchell from Texas ran that 4.3, 540 in good size. I think in the 6.2 range. The metrics aren't necessarily there just due to lack of production. Switching from Georgia and going to Texas, and there's just a lot of mouths to feed to Texas. So the numbers aren't all there. Behind it, the profile of the body type and everything, size, speed is there. And then he's getting mocked up pretty high. So we'll just see. I think the landing spot's going to have to determine it. And Troy Franklin, this is a guy. Did you watch those Michael Penix Jr. versus Bo Nix games this past season? How they were going at it?
No, I didn't. I didn't watch them live. I watched a little film on both of them, but I didn't watch them live.
Man, even Troy Franklin versus the hyped up Colorado, with Deion Sanders and them, both teams were 3-0.
I saw that one.
Okay, there we go. I was looking for one of Troy Franklin. He was looking dominant. Like they were going to him. Bo Nix trusted him in any situation to just try to stay ahead of that team that was on them and had all the hype going into that game, and they won that game. And Troy Franklin showed some really secure hands. He got knocked in the Dynasty community's opinion because he had a slower 40 time and some gauntlet drills that didn't look as smooth. I still believe in the player. I've been looking at the numbers, and players that are in college getting 1,300 yards or more, there's just been a higher hit rate for them. And Troy Franklin, he's been cooking, man.
He's my number 2 wide receiver. Out of the rookie draft.
Yeah, I honestly won't be surprised if I raise Franklin when the draft's over.
Right.
I think I got psyched out, to be honest, by putting Adonai over him.
Right.
But they're the same tier for now. That's my cop out. Hollywood Brown joining the Chiefs. The guy, I believe, a first round wide receiver, and he's been kind of used and viewed as the number 1 receiver on the depth chart, kind of in most places that he's been to. So there's still a chance that he ends up actually supplanting Rashee Rice. Don't be surprised if you heard it here first. I'm just telling you, this is a good player, but the Arizona situation was awful. Kyler Murray was only there for half the season.
Right.
This is just a guy that I liked watching, but the guys in this tier are all starters. So I think this is one where I was self-critique and say I probably have to drop McConkey down a tier. But what do you think about the D tier?
I like it. I love Deontay this year, man. A lot of people been on Deontay for years. I wasn't that high on him. But this year I'm high on him. Because I know what you need to do with Bryce Young in order to get him better. Because this is what you do for rookie quarterbacks. You get guys that can get open quick. That way they don't have to hold on to the ball and take a lot of sacks. It helped Jared Goff with Cooper Kupp. I think CJ Stroud and got those type of guys are a little bit different. They can extend the plays, but for a regular rookie quarterback, you need guys who can get open in the phone booth, and Deontay Johnson can do that. Guys, don't be surprised if Deontay Johnson, if he stays healthy, he could be the Adam Thielen of this team last year. He could be a top 12 wide receiver. Chris Godwin is very, very, I feel like if he's been having the season that he's supposed to have, if he wouldn't have had the knee injury, you would probably have him in tier B. But because of the knee injury, you got him down low. I love getting him. When I'm going robust RB, I'm getting Chris Godwin as my first wide receiver. Terry McLaurin, I don't know, man. If he stays with Washington, I don't really want him at all. I don't want to draft him. If he gets traded, then I like him. I think he's a good wide receiver. But for Washington, I think he's just overpriced as a wide receiver. He just has the name, but I like him as a player. I love Mitchell. The speed. I think he's going to be a good player. I think these are the guys that's going to go to the good teams that you're going to like to draft. Remember, where you're getting drafted to matters. Troy Franklin, I think, I'm a speed guy. He's getting behind. I didn't see a corner that he couldn't get behind. Now, I watched him against, what's the guy from Colorado? What's his name? The guy from Colorado, the corner. Deion's
Travis Hunter.
Travis Hunter. He was pushing Travis Hunter. Now, it wasn't a lot of man-to-man, but Travis Hunter, he when he was on Travis Hunter, he ran some good in routes and was getting a little bit of separation. I love Troy Franklin. If he goes to a team like Kansas City or any of these teams that need a wide receiver, a speed guy, I think he could be really good. Marquise Brown is just a guy. I wouldn't draft him. I would fade him in any draft. I wouldn't draft him in Dynasty. I wouldn't draft him anywhere. If you need to get him, you acquire him during the season. Go ahead. Okay. What were you saying, Alex?
Now, who was the player again?
Marquise Brown.
Okay.
Yeah, Marquise Brown. I wouldn't try to. I just wouldn't draft him out. I would fade him totally. Maybe I would buy on him if I needed to. If I was getting ready to go to the playoffs and he's doing good for Kansas City. But I just wouldn't buy because he's volatile. I think his body cannot take the NFL beating on a 17-game season. Lad, man, that's one of the guys I have not actually, did any kind of research on. You're gonna have to fill me in on him. What has he done, bro? I haven't researched him at all.
So unfortunately, he didn't have a ton of great numbers. He's competing with Brock Bowers, but at the same time, this guy is always able to get open. And I think I got onto him after the Senior Bowl. That's when I started looking at him, and he had some really good route running. Really consistent ability. Great hands. He's not dropping balls, and I think this guy has a good chance to get drafted pretty high from a lot of the mock drafts I'm seeing from the NFL themselves. They've got him either at the end of the first round, beginning of the second round. So again, I'm weighing some of that draft capital that these guys might get.
Right.
That's why, when I start seeing the tide shift towards Adonai over Franklin, I kind of lean that way, even though I still like Franklin. Because right now, I'm always going to say trust the NFL. That's the number one indicator of success as far as my hit rate versus the NFL hit rate. The NFL hit rate is not great either, but
right.
And one of the things I want to introduce later is a model for and let me get you back in here. Sorry about that.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, to be able to say, hey, can I get 5% better than NFL with the draft rate and stuff like that? But right now, one of the main key indicators I'm going to use is that draft capital to decide, hey, is this a guy I want to invest in? So, I mean, I like the trust that some of these teams are putting into him, but we'll see what ultimately ends up happening.
Right. And so you say he could have a Puka Nacua type, not season, but he's like a low guy like that, like a Puka Nacua.
Well, he's going to get drafted much higher than Puka, it looks like. He's on the radar for a lot of NFL teams. So I'm thinking second round, no later than second round is where it's kind of looking right now. But that I don't really know. We'll see what happens there. Yeah.
I trust you.
Yeah. No, I like Lad a lot. Really instinctual. I think he played running back in high school and some quarterback. He's really like creative and dynamic after the catch. So like he's really intelligent type of receiver, and he knows how to like keep the plays alive. So,
right. Well, you gave me the sauce with the quarterback, guys. When guys play quarterback, that's like a certain type of knowledge of the game. Usually, like look, Julia Edelman played quarterback. Antoine Randall played quarterback. It's been it's a couple other really, really top guys that play quarterback, and they might have changed their position in college, but it's a couple other guys that played quarterback in high school and a little bit in college. Travis Kelce was a quarterback. So man, that might be, is he gonna be like a slot PPR monster type of guy?
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah. So, hey, but time will tell. But yeah, watch out for the young lad, man. Don't be surprised if he gets drafted pretty early. And man, let's get on to the next tier. Looks like the draft room starting to fill up.
Okay.
Let me. All right, give me 1 second.
Yeah, guys, make sure, guys, you get into the rookie draft. This is going to help you. I know a lot of you don't do Dynasty. I offer Dynasty leagues. Actually, hopefully, I can get Alex into one of my Dynasty leagues. I do IDP. It's really, really fun. But guys, sign up for this. We're gonna try to do a lot of mock drafts for Dynasty. So make sure you claim one of these spots before they get taken up.
Yeah, and just to round out the top 50, got Josh Downs, Jacoby Myers, Roman Wilson. You like Josh Downs, right?
Yes, I do like Josh Downs.
All right. I like him a lot. I'm thinking it's still going to be more Michael Pittman. We got to see how much Anthony Richardson actually throws the ball, but we know he can sling that thing, through a wall pretty much. And Jacoby Myers showed that he can produce. He's more the unheralded type of receiver that doesn't get a lot of praise, but he's getting you those 13 points. I'll take that. Roman Wilson's another one of those young players. He was from Michigan, didn't get a lot of opportunities since the play style was more run heavy. But absolutely, think that he showed a lot of good stuff at the Senior Bowl. His ability to get open, some sure-handedness, but more of a rejection at this point. I don't even think he gets drafted ahead of Vlad. He could be in the third round. He just doesn't have the numbers behind him. A little bit tougher for him to get there. So, and really want to just double check. Let's see where we're at. We got a few spots left in the draft. Let's see if we can get that link out one more time. But I wanted to first show some of the. Let's go over to our. So we got some trades. We got some trades that we want to do.
Okay.
And just take a look at those. Yeah. So let's pull that up. All right, man. So sorry about that, guys. Okay, so first trade, we got the 110, the 201, the 112, all of that for the 105. Which side do you want? The 105, the rookie draft pick, the 5th pick overall in the rookie draft in a Superflex league, or would you prefer the package here to get all these players at the end of the first round?
Right. Can you move our picture around a little bit if you don't mind? No, you good. Yeah. You good.
Let's do that.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead and talk to. I'm gonna adjust the camera spot.
Okay. Yeah. No, I'm not going after the 105. Only way I would do that if it was the 105, if it was going to be B. John Robinson or Marvin Harrison Jr. I don't even think Marvin Harrison's probably going 1-3. Even with quarterbacks like Drake May, Jaden Daniels, and Caleb Williams. I don't think if I really actually thought Marvin Harrison was going to make it at the 1-5, I would do it, but I wouldn't do that trade. I'm not giving up a 2024 110, 112. And this is what I always tell people. What round did Puka Nacua go? 4th round in rookie drafts?
Yeah. So undrafted in some spots.
Right. I would ask you, what did Amon-Ra St. Brown go?
4th.
He went like 2nd round, 3rd round. Okay. It might have been even farther down than that.
In Dynasty. Yep.
Right. So a lot of these wide receiver guys, they go late. So this is what I say. It's like, listen, when I went to Vegas for my birthday, I played roulette. And I was like, okay, well, let me put $10 on the zeros, and I was losing. Then I started just putting, I might spend $20 and just put them on different numbers, and I was hitting. So I believe the more you got in the game, the more skin you got in the game, the better you can hit. We don't know who gonna hit. We thought Garrett Wilson was gonna be the best wide receiver. He ain't really been that. But if you draft the other guys, they did better. So I believe that having a 110 and a 112 and the 201 is way better than having a 1-5.
Okay. All
One
right.
player is not going to win you a championship. You could get CMC on the team, you can still lose.
That's true. Yeah, it was definitely overpay. I agree with you there. But a lot of excitement for these rookie players. Really, you have to hope at this point something crazy happens in the draft and you can then flip, like, to go back one pick, because I like getting into the top 7 picks. Top 8 is cool. Top 7 is better. I like the top 5 the most. But if you can go back a spot, you can just still get a Roma Dunze and get like a 2025 first. I like doing that too, because one of the things this class is lacking is depth at the running back position. So maybe you
Correct.
can pull something like that. And there's a lot of time left. It's just sometimes it's risky making a move knowing you need to make another move later. All right,
Correct.
let's go into this next trade. We've got the 210 and the 202. Still rookie and everything, same type of format for the 110. So is this pretty much the same principle you just gave? You rather have the 2 pieces than the 1? And
No.
before it was 3 pieces, but
Right. This one I'm a little bit different on. If you got a target, so it's a little bit early right now, but if you was targeting, and this is what I'm just going to use some last year. I can't really give you context for this year because I don't know where the guys are going to be drafted. But say I was in the draft and Jackson Smith and Jigba or Zay Flowers was still on the board at the 110. Yes, I would make that move. But if you just do it right now, you don't know who's going to be there. I think it's a terrible move. You got to be targeting a player to do this. Don't do it just to get draft capital, because this guys that's getting drafted is not going to really be that great. Like, target somebody who's going to help your team. So if you need a quarterback and Drake May is left on the board, then yes, you could do that. You can maybe even spend another pick. But don't just do it just to say, oh, I got the 1-7. Well, who's going to be at the 1-7? I don't know. I don't like that type of moving up in the draft.
Yeah. All right. Good advice there. Yeah. The other thing I advise is make your own tiers, right? I had just mentioned I like the top 8 players. I don't actually know who's going to be there though, right? So you do want to kind of have a buffer of a player or two, but still do your research, find where you're comfortable moving. If you think there's actually a difference between the player at the 202 and the 110, then go for it. Or if you think you can just get more once the draft day comes by doing this early, then go for it. If you think that those players are going to be the same, if it's 2 wide receivers, if you think, because to me, I think at 110, it's like a Troy Franklin is going to be in that range. Now, Troy Franklin versus, and I've been seeing mock drafts where Lad McConkey's going at 202, right?
Right.
So if you think there's a big difference, which I do, then you might want to wait and just keep, and you might want the 1 pick size. So make sure you have that target.
Right. And I say this too, Alex. On the draft day, you get more bang for your buck most of the time. Not all the time, but you get more bang for your buck. So if I'm on the clock, people are willing to make a move and really spin up when you on the clock on the rookie draft. Then if you do it early, so you got to play that to your strengths. Like if you want to move up because you believe that Troy Franklin is going to be there, then you make that move early. That way people don't know. Because if Troy Franklin's on the board and he's get drafted to Kansas City, he might be too late. So going to Alex's point, but I believe it just depends on what you want to do. So if you don't know who's going to be there and we still waiting, I would say hold off until the very last minute, and people are willing to pay up more according to what's going on with the draft capital and everything else.
All right. I like it. We got a couple more here, I think. Kyren Williams and the first pick in the 5th round, so the 501, or the 112 and the 401. Which side would you rather have?
So it depends on. I'm a 0 RB guy, so I would love to buy Kyren Williams. So I would give up my 112 for Kyren Williams because I don't think it's nobody at the 112 is going to put up production like Kyren Williams on an offense that's getting better on a younger running back.
Yeah,
he ain't been hurt. I'm going to make that move and win a championship. Now, if you are building, like you say, you drafted a lot of young guys, don't make that move. You'd be crazy to make that move. What is Kyle Williams going to do on your team when you already got Marvin Harrison, CJ Stroud, young team? No,
like
don't
by
do
the
it. But if
time
you
you're ready, he's going to be done.
Right. But there you go. So you buy running backs when you're ready to win championships. Other than that, draft wide receivers.
Okay. I like it. And I did this one on a team where I was the current champ and I won the league with Devin Singletary and like the corpse of Keaton Mitchell as my running backs, but I was loaded with those top 2-tier wide receivers that we just saw. And I just been skating by with these crazy running backs and just waiting for the injuries to pop up. And that's how I've been playing it. And you've been doing that for years, man. That's working. All right, so here's another one. Brandon Ayuk in the 201, or do you want Saquon Barkley, Jacoby Myers, the 307, the 406? This is a league where you have to start 11 players. I haven't been about announcing the formats, but PPR, Dynasty, and tight end premium. And yeah, you have to start 11 players, so there's a lot of flexes that you got to fill. So you do need bodies. But what do you think of this one?
It depends on what I need. If I'm not going to buy Ayuk, really, I just wouldn't really buy Ayuk right now. I like Ayuk. If I need a running back to win this year, like I got 0 RB type running backs, that means I got low value guys. I'm going to get Saquon to win. I like the Saquon spot because I believe you're going to be able to get good players at the 307. Listen, guys, I trade my first round picks every year in a lot of my dynasties because I think I can pick good players at the round 3, round 4, round 5. So I believe that I could find an Ayuk at those rounds, and I would rather take the Saquon Barkley side. But you got to be in win now mode. You can't be building and taking Saquon. I wouldn't even build with Ayuk. I wouldn't build with Ayuk, so I wouldn't do that. So I would always the Barkley side is the side that I really like.
All right, I think that's the last one we got. Oh wait, we got one more: Deontay Johnson, Michael Pittman, Tajay Spears, or Chase Brown, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Kendre Miller in the 108. I know exactly what side you're going to be on, but go ahead and let us know.
This is a good one, man. This is a good trade.
I'm surprised. Okay.
No, it's a good trade because you got the 108 there. You got Jackson Smith-Njigba, but then you got some 0 RB pass catching running backs out there that you using to get the 108. If I'm ready to win, if I'm trying to win now, I'm going to get Michael Pittman, Deontay Johnson. Those guys can be top 12 wide receivers. But if I'm trying to be young and I'm building, I'm going to get the Chase Brown side in the 108, 2024. That's what I'm doing. So I think that's a fair trade. It just depends on what you want.
All right.
Depends on where your team is at. What are you trying to do? Are you winning a championship? Or are you building
for me, I'm the top one here, and not only am I trying to win, I have it like a decent kind of core, but I got a lot of other draft picks, so I was willing to get rid of the 108. I still had the 103 and the 106, and I got a Nico Collins and a CJ Stroud stacked up already. I've got Jordan Love and Jalen Reed stacked, but I was looking for a little more firepower instead of trusting Jalen Reed. So just wanted to kind of upgrade there a little bit.
Right.
But it's tough to get rid of JSN. I love JSN. And when you play in multiple leagues, you can do a portfolio style. I do have multiple leagues, so I still kept JSN in some other spots. So if he boom over there, then I still got a little bit of that, and it might even be still time to buy a JSN. Right now, nothing has boosted his stock in the offseason, really.
Right. I agree with you, Alex.
Yeah.
He showed me last year, bro, when he made some catches that this guy, I think Tyler Lockett is going to be there this year, but JSN is taking over this team. I won't be surprised if JSN lead this team in targets. What would you say?
I think it's totally possible because Geno Smith he's not Russell Wilson. So Tyler Lockett really had that connection with Russell Wilson to get those deep balls, and we just haven't seen that part of the game. Lockett still produced in different ways.
Right.
And then we know DK Metcalf is, he's got a few different routes, but we know he's more stretching the field. I mean, that's just my opinion. But
Right.
Jason could easily be that dump off target.
Yeah.
They have given the running backs some targets, but it's not a ton or anything like that. So I can see it, man. The
Yeah.
talent is there. They drafted in the first round for a reason.
Right. Right. And the general manager is going to be on you. So you're going to try, you got to use him at his strength, which is underneath. I mean, underneath, he was better than 3 first-round picks, and that was Marvin Harrison. He was better than Marvin Harrison underneath. People don't want to talk about that. He played in big games better than Marvin Harrison. He was better than Chris Olave underneath and Garrett Wilson. He outplayed those guys underneath. Now, he wasn't the field stretcher that those guys was. But underneath, he could get open better than anybody. And C.J. Stroud hyper-target him, and Justin Fields hyper-target him.
Absolutely. I can totally see it, man. So we're close to the draft room filling. Just wanted to make sure, Silver Rapture, yes, these are dynasty rankings. So I know that's a little bit late. But yeah, it's not just for the 2024 season. And do we want to try to push out that link one more time, or we can start it with, we're missing a couple spots in there. I do have one more.
Push it out.
Huh?
Yeah, just let the guys know that's in here. There's a couple guys. Guys, click the link. I pinned it to the top. If you want to get in the sleeper rookie draft, just click the link and follow the instructions, and it'll lead you right into the draft.
Yes, sir. And I'll give us a little more time because I do have one roster review that I wanted to see if we could take a look at.
Okay.
Let me know when you're ready.
Yes, I'm ready.
All right, guys. So this team is in the second year. The first year of the startup was last season. There's Joe Burrow, Antonio Gibson, Amari DeMarcado, Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jahan Dotson, Kyle Pitts at tight end, Treylon Burks, Trey Palmer, Anthony Richardson as a second quarterback. This is Superflex.
Can you move our pictures? I can't see the bottom.
Oh, yep. Yes, sir.
Yep. Appreciate that, bro.
Let's go ahead and just get it all out of the way. Here we go. And again, that's Joe Burrow, Antonio Gibson, Damari DeMarcado, Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jahan Dotson, Kyle Pitts, Treylon Burks, Trey Palmer, Anthony Richardson. And on the bench, you got Deshaun Watson, Daniel Jones, Pickett, Rico Dowdle, Kendre Miller. It's rough. Xavier Hutchinson from the Texans, Sky Moore. It continues to get rough. And then you got Juwan Johnson. Really just Michael Mayer on the bench in my mind.
I like the nerd Prince.
Yeah, a little sleeper.
It's personal.
It's personal.
Yeah, I like him, man. They just didn't give him a shot. Like, I thought he was gonna have a shot, and he must have not been good enough, man. They didn't give him a shot when CEH went down. So
yeah, and I think CEH is gonna be gone this season, and we got Jerick McKinnon also gone, I believe. So this is a prime team to draft a running back, but if they don't, then maybe we'll get some playing time because they did everything they could to keep him on the practice squad all last year.
Right.
So, but what are your thoughts? How might you improve this team? I know it's a lot. So you know what I'm realizing I didn't include was the draft picks that are there. This team tanked, has the 101. So let me just ask right now while I load up the rest of it. Would you go quarterback knowing that you have a Joe Burrow, Anthony Richardson, and Deshaun Watson already as your quarterbacks, or would you go after Marvin Harrison Jr. or your next favorite player?
I would try to trade. So it depends on what I could get more for. I would try to trade Joe Burrow or my 101 and get multiple picks. So if I could get 2 picks for my 101 in the first round, if I could get the 1-4 and the 1-7, I would do that. And I also would trade. I'm trying to. I would
Then I'm gonna
trade
pull
my
over.
1-on-1.
You would trade the 1-on-1.
I would trade the 1-on-1 because one you're gonna be building on this team for 5 years. So you need to go ahead and trade the 1-on-1 and get multiple guys. So he got the 1-on-1. Yes. So you got the 104 and you got the 107. Trade that 1-on-1 and take over the first round with 6-7 picks.
Okay.
And then you build and then I
And
also
let
would try to
me
trade
announce
Joe.
it.
I would try to trade Joe Burrow too.
Oh wow. Okay. And just to announce it for audio listeners, this team has the 101, the 104, 107, 111, the 207. I missed the 201 there, as well as the 211, 301, 304, excuse me, 401 and the 501. So a bunch of picks, first pick in each round, and 4 firsts, 3 seconds. So there's a lot of ammunition to work with to build a team. And one thing I got to mention is when it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 players that you got to start, you know, how many starting spots do you really got to start? You know what I mean? Where with all those Ricky picks, can I is during the draft, can I trade one of those second round picks to get a starter to put into that lineup? Someone who
Right.
can help me right now versus just trying to draft a rookie running back. Because if you look at the hit rates for this, second round in our drafts, like the value of these rookies running backs starts to go down. Like if they haven't been drafted in the real life first round, it's already kind of tough. If it's not on day 2, it's tough. And this is at least being labeled as a down running back year. So you don't want to be reaching in a rebuild. Like you said, it might be 5 years. I'm fine trying to just say this next year is going to also be a rebuild because the 2025 class has a ton of running back talent. So maybe this year you get your wide receivers. And hey, if there are as many quarterbacks to get drafted as we talk about, maybe I don't spend that first pick on a quarterback. But I still like what you said about just getting the value that you can. But
Right.
you can get a lot of talent around this draft and then flip some of that for some other assets. I probably would just avoid drafting running back, fill out all of the other slots, and just let the running
Right.
back come to me. I might play a 0 RB on this team and just see what falls to me.
Right. Joe Burrow's not going to do anything for your team. So I'm trying to accumulate many of his picks, and then when I get on the clock, I'm trying to go. Now, if you could take the 1-on-1 and go get a CJ Stroud and those type of guys, yes. But try to accumulate as many picks as you can and go get young players that's ready to go. So
Yeah.
like if you could go buy a Breach Hall with your 1-7. Once you accumulating picks, you go get Breach Hall, you could go get Trey McBride, you could go
Yeah.
get let me see, just young studs in their second year. I would do that. That's how you build your team. Going and trying to draft a lot of rookies and trying to win, you're gonna build your team up and win a championship. I think it takes sometimes you might not even do that. So I would accumulate those guys, take CJ Williams, and try to trade him and get trade him and get a great player for him, like Amon-Ra St. Brown, those type of guys. I wouldn't really necessarily try to just draft rookie players and sit on them and think I'm gonna build that way. I would try to use those players to trade them and buy on guys in their second year.
All right. Appreciate that. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the draft. What I want to do is preface the draft first. Okay. So what I'm gonna do is set up the we're gonna do landing spots. We're gonna have actual landing spots. We're not just going to do a hypothetical based it on the player talent only. We're gonna introduce, hey, what if they go here to this particular landing spot? Okay, so let's pull this up. I'm going to share my screen again. We've got Panthers.com news. I think this came out last week. No, it came out 2 days ago. Panthers, this was after they had made some trades and they got that additional draft pick. They were able to make some moves and they were just kind of doing a hypothetical what they could do with that. So they made a 4-round mock draft. These 4-round mock drafts don't come around a lot because it's a lot of hard work as an NFL analyst. Not me, these guys, the NFL analysts, to go down, not even just a scouting, but to just put the list together, and they're asked for it over and over and over. So it takes a lot of time from them. So I'm just going to call out some of the draft picks here. And guys, I'm not going to slowly scroll through this. I actually have this on another sheet ready to go. So we'll pull that up. Let me get that off the screen. So they've got Chicago Bears taking Caleb Williams. The Commanders going Jaden Daniels. They've got New England taking Drake May. McCarthy. I'm going to move over a little bit here. Minnesota Vikings. Marvin Harrison Jr. goes 5th to the Los Angeles Chargers. You got a just offensive heavy draft here with Malik Neighbors going at pick 6. And we'll skip the non-fantasy relevant players. Roma Dunze goes with the 5th pick to the Arizona Cardinals. So they ended up trading back because they originally had that 4th pick. So they must have been comfortable with either player that they got there. And Brock Bowers goes to the New York Jets. I will go ahead and instead of scrolling through the rest of these, I will just pull up this draft sheet here where we've got all of the names. So we just did Brock Bowers. We'll go ahead and skip down to number 12. Bo Nix goes to the Broncos. We've got Xavier Worthy going to the Chiefs. They trade up to get Worthy. Brian Thomas Jr. goes to the Cowboys. Michael Penix Jr. goes with the 1st pick in the 2nd round to the Raiders. Ben Sinnott goes to the Carolina Panthers. Lad McConkey goes to the Saints in the 2nd round. Xavier Leggett, next pick, goes to the Colts. And the next pick after that is Blake Corum to the Giants. We've got Adonai Mitchell to the Bengals. Troy Franklin to the Steelers. Uh-oh. That was the one I was talking about earlier.
Right.
Jatavian Sanders to the Eagles. I wonder what that means. Jonathan Brooks to the Cowboys. Ooh. And then Jalen Wright to the Cardinals. Devontae Walker goes to the Commanders, gives them another option.
Trey Benson to the Patriots.
Yeah. Womp, womp, womp.
Yeah.
Roman Wilson to the Bears. Johnny Wilson to the Raiders. Cade Stover to the Commanders. Marshawn Lloyd goes to the Colts. Womp, womp, womp. Man. Theo Johnson goes to the Bucks. Ricky Pearsall goes to the Falcons. Braylon Allen to the Buccaneers. Luke McCaffrey goes to join his brother, Christian McCaffrey, with the 49ers. Malachi Corley goes to the Jaguars. Jermaine Burton to the Panthers. Will Shipley to the Chargers. Spencer Rattler to the Falcons. Jalen Polk to the Ravens. This is Jalen Polk. I always say Jalen. Shout out to my fam in Baltimore. Malik Washington to the Eagles. Jaheim Bell to the Texans. Brendan Rice, son of Jerry Rice, to the Cardinals. Jared Wiley, tight end out of TCU, goes to the 49ers. And the final pick is Audric Estime going to the 49ers. So those last 2 49er picks are backups at least year 1. And we're going to use this. I'm going to try to put up the draft board and keep this up at the same time. So let's go ahead and do that. And then we'll get started. So any initial reactions to this draft board?
No, I like the Xavier Worthy to the Chiefs. I think I've been saying the Chiefs should take him. I mean, that's going to be their what I would call 4-man Tyreek Hill to this offense.
Yeah.
Man, they got Marquise Brown, so I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe they think he can do that. And maybe they go with a bigger body wide receiver. But I like that. I think Marvin Harrison does go to the Chargers. The Chargers got to have another wide receiver, so it makes sense. J.J. McCarthy to the Vikings, I don't know about. If they do that, man, they're going to get booed off the stage.
All right, guys, we're starting the draft. Sorry to interrupt you there, TD.
No, you fine.
I know these people have been waiting long enough. I really appreciate the patience. Please like and subscribe. Hey, TD can say it best. What is this, TD? What kind of content is this?
This is cutting edge content.
Yes, sir. All right, you're on the clock, TD. What do you got for
Okay.
us? Who are you going to take at the 103? We got Marvin Harrison, who went 101. Caleb Williams went with the second pick. And TD's on the clock. Let's see where he goes. Ooh! Uh-oh! Xavier Worthy at the 103. He gets the Chiefs bump. Man, I get nervous with these Chiefs landing spots, man. Every time people get overdrafted to the Chiefs, but the fastest player ever in the NFL, it's hard to argue, man. And you already know Patrick Mahomes probably was in the coaching staff's ear saying, "Hey, give me this guy. I need another
Right.
Tyreek."
Right. And you know they're going to Andy Reid, the way he draw up plays.
Yeah, man. Okay. Wow. So I wasn't ready for that. IMKC with a steal, to my opinion. All right. So I think I'm going to go Brock Bowers here. Went 10th
That's a
to the
good
Jet.
pick.
Aaron Rodgers needs someone to protect them, but also another pass catching weapons in addition to that Mike Williams signing. So that can complete the offense to give them kind of a win now piece. And let me do some announcing. After you took Xavier Worthy, it was Malik Neighbors, Jaden Daniels, Roma Dunze, Drake May, Brock Bowers, Brian Thomas Jr., JJ McCarthy, Adonai Mitchell, Troy Franklin at the 112. And then in the second round, we got Jonathan Brooks at the 201. And now Nifty is on the clock. Let's see what you got for us, Nifty. Man, I didn't think I was getting Bowers at the 108, but whoo, I can't hate it. I can't hate some of these picks. Okay, Xavier Leggett at the 2-2, and I'm gonna try to make sure y'all can see these picks on the right side. Yeah, you can see them. Okay, make sure I'm not in the way. Okay, so you went with Brendan Rice.
Yes.
All right, he went to the Cardinals.
They need a wide receiver.
They do. They took Roma Dunze. So what about what is it? Michael Wilson? Is that their other receiver?
Right.
He's a big body. You know, Brendan Rice is a big body too. Roma Dunze, Michael Wilson. This might be with Brendan Rice. This might be the tallest team in the league because Brendan Rice is like 6'3".
Right.
Let me make sure I get my pick in. Coleman to the Texans. I don't think I can pass on Bo Nix. No. Dang, Bo Nix to the Broncos with the 12th pick. I just got to take him there. Dang. Ooh, Team 9 gives another weapon for CJ Stroud. I like it. So let me announce these real quick. After you took Brendan Rice, it was Mike Penix Jr., Matt McConkey, Blake Corum, Trey Benson, Bo Nix, Keon Coleman, Roman Wilson, Braylon Allen, Jatavian Sanders. And now we're back in the third round. RG has got us with Audric Estime, the successor to Christian McCaffrey, he hopes. Nifty takes Marshawn Lloyd, who went 82nd to the Colts. I mean, I know they signed Jonathan Taylor, but that's some decent draft capital. Nothing to sneeze at. And maybe they're trying to keep Taylor healthy. All right, TD's on the clock. Let's see what he's got for us. Okay. Joe Milton may enter the league with the strongest arm besides Josh Allen. This guy, have you seen those videos of Joe Milton throwing just like anywhere really? Like this guy has a crazy arm.
Right. But you know that I thought the same thing about Josh Allen, and he ended up being a really good quarterback in the league. I thought he was just a strong arm guy, like just throwing it deep. But these guys with good coaching, they can actually play. Look at Anthony Richardson.
Yeah. I didn't love Joe Milton at the Senior Bowl. I felt like the accuracy was off, but with some NFL coaching,
Josh Allen, right?
That was the thing. People say you couldn't teach the accuracy. All right, I'm on the clock here.
Right.
Oh man. Let's see. Oh man, I'm gonna go Ricky Pearsall to the Falcons. All right. So after you took Milton, it went Jalen Polk, Bucky Irving, Devontae Walker, Jalen Wright. I took Ricky Pearsall. Then goes Will Shipley, Javon Baker, Malachi Corley, Ray Davis to end the third round. Then we start the next round with Luke McCaffrey, who's on the Niners, and not as a running back, but as a wide receiver. So maybe he can get on the field. We'll see.
All my
All
guys are getting stole, man. I wanted Marvin Harrison, then Shipley's gone.
right.
It's tough, man. It's tough. Let me see here.
Jalen McMillan's one of my guys too. I just think in this draft, I don't think he went in the top 4 rounds. Let me see. Nah, I don't see him. Let me know if I'm missing them, guys. All right, so we went Frank Gore Jr. All right, I heard TD on his live the other day say Frank Gore Jr. could be the #1 running back in this class. Do you stand on that?
No, I didn't. Did I say Frank Gore Jr.? I don't think I
Oh,
said
my
Frank Gore
bad.
Jr.
Okay.
No, I said Benson. It was Benson was my
Okay.
number one guy. And my number 2
I think it was
guy.
more like you would like, hey, he could do something if he get opportunity type of thing.
Yes, yeah.
With
I
Frank
said
Gore.
he got the name, so he's gonna get an
Yeah.
opportunity. But running backs, man, I try to draft as many as I can. Who knows who gonna hit? If you go, it depends on your location and what's going on with your team. If somebody go down, like look at what was it, Robinson about a couple years ago with the Jaguars. Like they traded
Yeah, that 1-year wonder, but it
Fournette,
was hot. Yeah.
right? But now what is it? He's not even in the league now.
Yeah, it's tough. Okay, so I went with Johnny Wilson there, but yeah, I totally agree. Like you can with this class too. Don't be surprised if it makes sense to just get somebody who can start day one
Right.
and get you this 1 year because, like I said, the 2025 running back class is stacked. There's going to be guys in this year's class who lose their jobs because it's just this. I already have a video on next year's class and the year after and the one after that, but like that class, you see a lot a lot of green. Okay, so we got you took Isaac Garendo. He had a really good combine, great
Right.
size, and
Right.
great speed.
He
I
reminds
like
me
that
of
pick.
Jonathan Taylor. I'm not saying he's Jonathan Taylor, but his body size, pause, and his speed and everything.
Yeah. All right. Here we go. No, don't worry about that. That's a good pick. AJ Barno, he could be all right. Don't worry about the auto pick there.
I'm looking for the guy from Florida State, the wide receiver, the tall guy.
Oh, I got him. He's on my
Oh,
team.
you got him? Okay.
Yeah, Johnny Wilson.
Okay. Good
That's who
pick.
you're talking about, right?
I got
Yeah,
sniped all
he
over,
went to the
man.
Raiders 77. I was like, I'll take that.
I got sniped
I think the
all
steal of the
over.
draft was Ben Sinnott here in the 5th round. Good job, Nifty. You crushed it. He went pick 39 to the Panthers. He's going to get a lot of usage in college. He actually has some average depth of target that was pretty far down the field. I like him a lot. I like him over Cade Stover. I'm gonna go with Jermaine Burton out of Alabama. He was the #1 wide receiver for Alabama the past 2 seasons. Also had some time, I think, at Georgia. Had some off the field issues. So you just got to see how that affects his draft stock. That's probably why I don't think he was listed here. But yeah, that's the draft. Let's go ahead and break this down. We can rank these teams. Let's see. So let's start with the first pick. We've got RG. He goes Marvin Harrison, Jonathan Brooks, Audric Estime, Luke McCaffrey, Cade Stover. So he's got at least a core wide receiver that I've got in the S tier, and Cade Stover should be decent. Did not get a lot of yards after catch, but it was at Ohio State. He's good. He's sure-handed. He can block. He'll get some opportunity. Jonathan Brooks coming off the ACL. He's not going to be a year 1 guy, but right now everyone views him as the actual best talent at the running back position. And
Right.
I moved away from this screen. This is the guy who went to the Dallas Cowboys. So everyone's going to be hot on Jonathan Brooks if that happens. The
Right.
Dallas Cowboys doctors are the ones that performed his ACL surgery repair. So there's that connection already, and I can understand why they went with that in this mock. So I'm going to go through all of these, and then we can give the grades at the end. You want to call out this next one though?
Yes. You got Williams, you got Leggett, Lord. Now some of these guys I ain't gonna act like I've researched them.
Oh,
I
okay.
haven't researched them. But Williams, I love him at the 102. I think that's a steal. You would think he would be the 101. This is a super flex, right?
Yep.
So you stole him. I think you have to, even if you got Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, you still have to take them for draft value. Leggett and the rest of the guys, man, I haven't done any research on.
Yeah. Xavier's is like a really big body wide receiver out of South Carolina, and got some good speed behind it. It's almost like a Brian Thomas Jr., but he was a fifth-year breakout and did almost nothing at any point before then. So, he needed Spencer Rattler to get there before he was able to produce. Good size and speed, but when you don't have any production, it's hard to see that translating to the NFL. But people are high on him, I will say that. And in this draft, he went 46, so that's second round to the Colts. He's not going to be a number one with Pittman there. So kind of tough, but not a bad pick. And then, Marshawn Lloyd, running back out of USC. So he actually had
him.
Yeah, he had some of the best like yards per reception type of metrics, but his total receptions was kind of low. So I've done some videos where he didn't really meet the thresholds because his total receptions was low, but when he was getting the ball, he was doing something with it. He was actually getting a lot of yards every time he caught the ball. And Caleb Williams is more of a quarterback that likes to throw the ball. He's not a dump it off type of quarterback. So that's why it makes sense Lloyd didn't get those opportunities, but Lloyd has good speed, size. So I like him. Jalen McMillan was one of the three in the trio at Washington, the national champion contenders. And he was really good. He had good numbers that were comparable to Rome Odunze in his first couple seasons. This last year, he was a little bit banged up. And all three of the receivers there were really good. So it's tough to get a ton of production, but he still was doing it. He looks really good. This is one of my favorite receivers in Jalen McMillan. And I just don't think he went in this draft. So for this draft, unless I'm missing it, it would just be tough to want to rate him too high. But Ben Sinnott with the final pick, that's nice. So good job to Nifty there. A really good job. He went 39 to the Panthers. He's going to get some usage. It's a tight end premium. So there you go. And I'll call out your picks for this one, TD. Right. So you got Xavier Worthy, Brendan Rice, Joe Milton, Frank Gore Jr., Isaac Orendo. I think we talked about all of our picks so far, so I want to just skip to the next ones, and then we can do the grades after. Malik Neighbors for Team 4, Michael Penix Jr., Jalen Polk, Isaiah Davis, Bryson Nesbitt. Team 5 took Jaden Daniels, Lat McConkey, Bucky Irving, Spencer Rattler, and Dallin Holker, who had the most fantasy points of any tight end this past season above Brock Bowers. And one of the correlations I've seen for tight end success is any tight end who has in history has, or I'll say the last 10 years, 54 out of the last 60 top 5 tight ends in NFL fantasy, they were either having a 7 RAS score, relative athletic score, or they had a lot of fantasy point production. And Holker meets both of those thresholds. Doesn't mean he's going to be top 5, but you almost don't have the ability from the numbers to be a top 5 tight end if you don't have those. So this guy was leading fantasy points in college. Maybe he doesn't in the NFL or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying, but he at least is someone to have on your radar. All right, Team 6. Aaron Biggs goes Rome Odunze, Blake Corum, Devontae Walker out of Carolina, Jacob Cowling, AJ Barner. I like this team. Rome Odunze, that's a great pick. We saw his reception perception all green. Blake Corum, he's a guy that I think fits that win now mold of, hey, if you want a running back that's just going to maybe get you a bunch of touchdowns or just get you something that you can just plug into flex just this year as a rookie, this Blake Corum could be it. Devontae Walker, he's got that 4.3 speed. And here he goes to the Washington Commanders. I forgot your take on Jahan Dotson, but we do believe, I think you said you believe in him. Like statistically, he's actually kind of quietly doing well. Is that what you said, right?
Talking about Walker?
I was saying Jahan Dotson, so Devontae Walker is going to go to Washington Commanders. So he's either replacing Jahan Dotson or he's going behind Jahan Dotson, or he's the potential Terry McLaurin replacement if they don't want to re-sign him. With
I
the
think
new
they trade
staff.
Terry. Right. I think they trade Terry McLaurin. That's what I'm thinking. And they keep Jahan. He's still on his rookie deal.
Yeah.
And trade Terry while his value is still good, and and get Walker to help stretch the field. That's what I believe. I like Walker. I've seen him. I'm from North Carolina, so I saw him. He's a good player.
Oh yeah, no problem on that auto pick. All right, so yeah, I like that pick. Okay, we'll go on to the 7th pick. We got Drake May. This I think is the first time I've seen him fall this far. And he goes to the Patriots here. So maybe people are scared of the Patriots landing spot. People were scared of the Texans landing spot last year. That's all I got to say. Trey Benson in the 2nd round, Jalen Wright, 4.38 speed. I mean, both of these. Oh God, you got some of the hardest hitting running backs in this draft.
Right.
Some of the fastest ones that got some size and elusivity. I like that. Malik Washington, I've got a video. I got multiple videos where he's my sleeper. Malik Washington, give me Malik Washington. I want Malik Washington on my teams. Kamani Vidal, running back here at the end. So just a little stab on a running back. I like that. And then I go with Brock Bowers, Bo Nix, Ricky Pearsall, Johnny Wilson, Jermaine Burton. I already spoke on those, so we'll keep going. Brian Thomas Jr. at the 9th pick. Team 9 continues on. Yeah, and that's to the Dallas Cowboys.
Right.
And so he'll be a number 2. He won't be a number 1, but they could use a number 2.
Right.
And he'll still be able to produce. Dak's been able to support multiple wide receivers, I believe. Keon Coleman to the Texans. So you got 2 receivers going to Texas, and both quarterbacks can probably support them. So, Coleman here, though, Tank Dell's only 1 year removed from a rookie deal. So is this, Coleman has the size of the Nico Collins. I don't think he has the speed of Nico Collins. But is this a Nico Collins, like we don't want to pay you and Tank Dell type of thing? Is he replacing?
No, they paying Nico.
That's what I'm hoping. Yeah. Okay. And they got your guy Will Shipley, Jaheim Bell. Jaheim Bell goes to the Texans as well. Okay, and they just did a 3-year deal with Dalton Schultz. So I don't know about that one if it happens in real life. But and then Michael Pratt, that's the sleeper quarterback. We'll see what happens there. And then, okay, Team 10, J.J. McCarthy, Roman Wilson, Javon Baker, Cody Schrader, Eric All. And, you get a first-round quarterback going to the Vikings. Justin Jefferson to throw to. Roman Wilson, he goes to the Bears. So, when Keenan Allen's gone, maybe that's when he gets his time to shine. And even DJ Moore, they have to extend him at some point. We'll see what they do with that whole room once they, just make sure that they got their guy at quarterback. Javon Baker, he's been getting a lot of love. I like him too. Trying to see. Yeah, I don't think he got drafted here. So that's the only thing. But still a good player. I like the talent. Cody Schrader, not a pass-catching running back. Not great metrics overall. So just kind of tough for me to want to take him. And then Eric All, he was injured most, if not all, of last season, but he's out of Iowa, and those tight ends typically produce, and he seems to be pretty good. He just had a lot of injuries, so this is a guy that I think will sleep, and I'll call it now. He's going to be producing in the league at some point. So Adonai Mitchell goes to Team 11. Braylon Allen, Malachi Corley, Theo Johnson, Sam Hartman. So A.D. Mitchell out of Texas. Here they've got him going to the Bengals. So that's see you, T. Higgins. bye. They've
Right.
got a similar size. T. Higgins a little taller, but Mitchell's faster, and you got Joe Burrow throwing you the ball, so not much else to
You
say
need
there. Braylon out.
speed. Yep. You need speed.
Yeah. I mean, that's going to be hard to guard, right? With Chase on the other side.
Right. Right.
Yeah, Malachi Corley, or yeah, Braylon Allen missed here. Buccaneers. I like Rashad White. He had the most, I think, opportunities in the league amongst running backs. So he by pure volume has more points than other players. Maybe if they have actual running back too, something happens.
Right.
I think you and I know the names of the running back too that was on the team, but they didn't do anything, right? It was Chase Edmonds, it
Right.
was Sean Tucker. They didn't do anything.
Yeah.
So
Right. Right. I thought Sean Tucker would have a better season. Maybe he comes out this year and is ready.
yeah. So maybe Allen gets an opportunity, but that would be a little tough because he wouldn't be getting the pass catches anyway. He doesn't have great hands. But
Right.
he's the youngest running back and the biggest running back. He can definitely be a goal line back. I think he could just eat up some stuff there and down in the middle. So and we'll try to move on. Malachi Corley. Let's see. He went to the Jaguars, so they recently signed Gabe Davis after letting go of Calvin Ridley. Well, we'll see how that shakes out. Maybe he'll end up as the number 2 at some point. Theo
Jag.
Johnson had, yeah. Theo Johnson
Well,
had the number 1.
not the rookie, but Gabe Davis. He's just a jag. He's just a boom guy. You can't
Oh,
even risk.
yeah, just
Yeah,
the
he's
guy
just a
for
jag.
those that don't know.
Yeah, you can't play. You can't play Gabe Davis.
Yeah, so I can see, yeah, and Corley's he's got some yak ability, so yeah, I could totally see him just being an option for Trevor
Right.
Lawrence to get the ball out quick to. Theo
Right.
Johnson, he's the number 1 tight end in relative athletic score. So sometimes you just need to get an athletic tight end. I think the Bucks took him in this draft, so they don't want to pay K. Dot in that extension that he'd be due next season. So they just go with Theo
Right.
Johnson because they're already paying these receivers and and really the future of the Bucks beyond Baker. You know, who knows? But you don't want to invest in K. Dot when you just paid Baker a bunch of money and Mike Evans. So and the final team
Right.
here, Troy Franklin, Jatavian Sanders. We got Ray Davis, Jamari Thrash, and Devin Leary. So Troy Franklin, we talked about him a ton. We really like him. Jatavian Sanders, he was a bit of a follower at the combine just because he's a little bit slower, but still, he had great hands. Whenever I watched him at Texas, always was relied upon. He ended up being a lot of games the number 1 target, number 1 receiver for that team. So he's a lot of
Right.
production too behind his stats, and he still had above an 8 relative athletic score. I like him. Ray Davis is a good thumper back. He's a little bit older, but he can be just one of those goal line backs and get the job done that way. I don't think Jamari Thrash got drafted here, but we'll see what happens. Could be a sleeper. Yeah, so that's it. Who do you think had the best team? I'm going to just put it on full screen here
I
for
like.
us.
Yeah, I was looking. Let me see here. You was talking. What? It was a team earlier that you. I would go
Uh,
with IMCM, the Drake
all
May,
right.
Benson, right? Yeah, the San Francisco. I like that team. I like the 2 running backs that he got. He's squeezing one of those running backs. I believe if they go to the right team, they could be really good. I compared Benson to what was the guy out of Miami? They played for the
Miami
Colts.
University.
Edward James,
Oh,
Edrin
Edrin James.
James.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he reminds me of Edrin James, and Wright reminds me of Chris Johnson. I'm not saying he's Chris Johnson, but he's so fast, and he's only 210 pounds. So I like the upside with the running backs. And then you got Drake May, and you only got him at the 1.7. I think taking Drake May at the 1.7 is good value. You didn't overdraft
Yeah.
him.
Yeah, I like that pick. And the interesting thing is, in the draft class where wide receivers are kind of dominating, he really didn't take one until late, but came away with a really good draft just because of how the values fell.
Right.
And yeah, so let me just see. So Jalen Wright, he went to the Cardinals. You think he can take over for James Conner, who's getting a little bit older?
not take over, but get a workload. I think he can get a workload.
And then I know you're high on Trey Benson. Does he take over for Ramondre Stevenson? That's where he ends up going in the
I
draft
know, man.
to the Patriots.
That's why I didn't draft him. I want to draft him. I can't draft a New England running back. I can't do it, man. If he go to New England, he's just gonna be another guy, man.
Yeah.
Antonio Gibson is already there. I don't believe that's tough to say he's going there. They already got Antonio Gibson. They paid him a free agent deal, and then they got Ramondre. That's tough.
That's a tough one. Let me see. I definitely like that team just because of how Drake May fell. I think any of those top 3 quarterbacks, I kind of have my eyes set on. Even if Jaden Daniels goes to the Patriots, I might be more worried about him there, but it's just hard to pass on these quarterbacks in these Superflex leagues. But we have seen that the hit rate is still closer to 40% or 30% for some of these first-round dynasty rookie draft quarterbacks. So when I'm in your leagues and I see people going high on the skill positions, I get it because there's a bust rate, especially with these rookie quarterbacks.
Right.
In the startup, I would prefer the established quarterbacks, but in some of these rookie drafts, it doesn't. I'm not, knocking anyone for taking a Malik Neighbors over some of these guys. If you really think he's got that talent, Worthy with the Chiefs.
Right.
I mean, it's tough. The Jaden Daniels rushing ability is why I would still have him at that 3 spot.
Start, though?
What?
You think
Does he
he's
start?
Start?
Jaden Daniels or who?
Jaden Daniels.
Jaden Daniels and this goes to the Washington Commanders. He's starting for sure. Who they going to start? Jacoby Brissett, I think, is their quarterback.
Yes. I think it's Jacoby Brissett. I don't think they got rid of Jacoby. I don't think Jaden Daniels is going to start from day one with his running ability as a smaller guy. I think they want to teach him to. And they got Cliff. He could, man. They got Cliff. You could be right. I just didn't want to go. Only person that I was taking is Caleb Williams as a quarterback. Other than that, I wanted to go and get me a skill player. I thought Xavier Worthy on the Chiefs, that automatically puts you with that type of speed. I just got to think of Tyreek Hill. I thought of Tyreek Hill. But as a quarterback, the value was better to get Jaden Daniels. But look at even with CJ Stroud. When did CJ Stroud be a top 5 quarterback? It took him middle of the season before he started actually being a top 5 quarterback.
Yeah, but that's where I disagree because it's dynasty. Year one, it doesn't matter to me. If you can get to where you need to be in that second year, I'm feeling pretty good about. Year one matters actually statistically from a hit rate perspective. You want to do something. CJ Stroud hitting in the second half, that's fine. Jonathan Taylor years ago hitting in the second half of that season where everyone hated him at the beginning of the season, that's fine. As long as you get there by the end of the season, I'm good with it. And that quarterback, if they hit, that's a good hit because Stroud or Marvin Harrison, which of those players do you want?
Right.
I would still take Stroud in that spot, but not all these guys are going to have the best rookie quarterback season of all time. Right. Maybe Caleb does. I do agree there's a bust potential with Jaden Daniels and Drake May at the New England is a scary spot.
Right. You're right. I compare Xavier Worthy to Deshaun Jackson. Would you want Deshaun Jackson, or would you take? Who would I say? I would try to compare Jaden Daniels as taking him for the Washington Commanders.
RG3.
Yeah, maybe RG3. Maybe
because of the light body frame.
Right. Yeah, RG3 had a strong arm too. I think his arm was a little bit stronger than Jaden, but you're right.
Yeah. Deshaun Jackson, for those that don't know, he has some of the highest points per game in some of those boom games. This was a guy who continued to get jobs as a 34-year-old in the league, close to retirement just because of that speed. And even some of those later seasons, he would break off a long one. So, we were talking about those boom players. So, no, this was a good draft. I think. I don't know. I probably still may lean that IMKC team. I'm just so shocked that I'm not going with some of these receiver teams. But it's if you didn't get some of these top 4 receivers,
Right.
At
That's
that
how I
point.
saw it. Right. Right. And you could say Malik Neighbors, but his growing pains are gonna be tougher than Xavier Rutherford. Xavier Rutherford got to come out there and he ain't got to worry about no
Oh
double
yeah.
coverage or anything. But that don't mean that it just depends. Like if I needed a quarterback and I don't have a quarterback on my team, I'm definitely taking Jaden Daniels there. But
Yeah.
if I'm trying to get a player to plug in and win, I don't think you can get a better player than Xavier Weatherly, but I don't think he was chalk at all. I think I reached for him. I think I did reach for him, but
Oh,
I
I love it.
believe right. But I still like Xavier Worthy playing as on the like Kansas City Chiefs, man, at a 4-3. He's better. Don't you believe that he's better than McCole Hardman?
Yeah, for sure. And
Look what
the
McCole
fact that
Hardman
they
did
brought
there.
back McCole Hardman means that they need that player. And now McCole Hardman's
Right.
gone again, I think.
Right. Right. And what do you believe? So look how McCole Hardman did. Like McCole Hardman wasn't bad there. I believe Xavier Worthy could be a lot better there.
Timothy says, where do you see Worthy going in the NFL draft? I could see. So in this draft, they trade up to get him. If there's
Right.
no trade up, I think the Cowboys are ahead of the Chiefs, and they have a CeeDee Lamb, and they just need someone to stretch the field. I see Cowboys taking them. It's a Texas player, so I can see them trying to keep a Texas player in Texas. That's what I think. How about you, TD?
I see the Bills. I
Okay,
think of
yeah,
teams
big need.
that need speed demons. I see the Bills. Um, I can see the Bengals. I can see a man. Listen, with his speed, bro, he could go top 12. I mean, that speed. Look. I mean, I'm not saying he's Waddle, but why wouldn't they treat him as like a Waddle? Those speed guys that went early in the draft. Like, why wouldn't they treat him as that?
Yeah, and I'm pulling up the uh, draft position for the real draft to help answer Timothy's question. And he's going to go in the
New
later
England,
area. I don't think where there's don't forget there's other good defensive players too. I'll pull down the
right?
comment. Uh, so yeah, if y'all can see this. All right, we got a TD in here. So let me scroll up a little. So Cincinnati at 18. That could be a spot. I don't think the Rams do it, but maybe they try to replace Puka. They really liked having Demarcus Robinson as that other threat in the
Right.
offense.
They do.
Miami Dolphins love speed. Philly, no. I think they just signed some
I don't
receiver,
think
but
they
not.
need them. They get an offensive lineman or
Yeah,
somebody. I don't think they need or
yeah.
defense.
And then Minnesota has the 23rd pick. They're not going to do it. I see it being Dallas, not Green Bay,
Yep.
not. I don't think it's Tampa Bay. So it could maybe Cardinals double dip. But I
They
like
better
that
not
Bills
let
call.
right. They better not let them fall into Kansas City. That's all I'm saying.
Woo! Yeah, don't someone take them.
Somebody take them. Right.
That's right, man. Also, and then Timothy's got another question. He saw they changed the kickoff rules, so that may help where these draft stock. Oh, okay, yeah, put them as special teams. Yeah,
What's the new
I could
kickoff
absolutely.
rules? So that mean they got to kick it off? Because I heard it was just no kickoff or no kickoff onside. Like what you call it? None of the onside kicks, right?
Yeah, so you have to announce the onside kick
Right.
before you go out there. So there's no element of surprise, and the part of the rule was they changed where you can, how you kick it. So the first 10 players that are not the kickers, they have to wait until the ball is caught by the returner first before they move, and then the blockers for the returners, they also have to wait to move. And they're all, I think, 5 yards apart from each other or something like that. So they're really just snapping the ball, blocking each other, and you're hoping that the returner can break loose. And I believe also they no longer allow like an unlimited amount of players that can be in the back area returning. You can only have a maximum of 2 players now that are in
Okay.
the catchable range. So that makes it to where you can't do a trick play or a quick reverse type of thing. Like sometimes they get a little misdirection on which side of the field the defense is shading. You know what I mean?
Wow.
So those
That's
are
gonna
some of
be
the
that's crazy.
yeah. So yeah, we'll see how that affects the game. But I think that's a good point. Really have a big impact there. Yeah, I was trying to see if I could pull up a graphic of it real quick, but
yeah, Speed's gonna kill in the league. That's why I'm going with Speed. You know, I love Tyreek Hill when he was drafted. I was big on him.
okay, he's a 5th rounder, right?
Yes, but
I
you
think
know that
so, yeah.
happened because of the trouble. He probably would have been a 2nd rounder
Oh
or a
yeah,
1st rounder if he wouldn't have got in that trouble.
true. Okay. Yeah, he says basically they're creating more space for the speedsters. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, I can see that. Steelers, they were the ones that proposed the move, and the rest of the NFL teams agreed with it. All of the NFL teams are meeting at their annual meeting this past weekend or whatever, and Steelers proposed the move, and then the day after the change of the rule was accepted, the Steelers signed Cordero Patterson, who's a known returner. And he wasn't even in the league, right?
Right.
So you know, there's a role for just a receiver type like that.
Right. And
Yeah.
we gotta start putting those. I got kick return and punt return yards in my league. Now it's not the same. It's not 1 yard for every 10, but I think it's 1 for every 20.
Okay. Oh, yeah. See, and I like leagues like that where it's got a little custom element to it.
Right. Right. Because that's part of the game.
Yeah, like I'm in a league where you get bonus plays if it's a 40-yard type of catch or a run or touchdown for just a big play. So that
Right.
boosts your Jamar Chase types or the Xavier Worthy types. Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's a really good point. It might factor in differently for different leagues because a lot of leagues you don't get that. You if your guy gets to 6 on a kick return, you don't even get it in your lineup. I hate when that happens.
Me
Are
too.
you in any leagues like that?
No, I play because the league, most of the Dynasty leagues I play in is my leagues. I play in two or three of them to where it's a little different. But my leagues, man, yeah, I give you yards for kick return and
Here,
punt return. It just sounds kind
take
of
a look at
crazy
this.
where if you score a touchdown, you only get 6 points.
Take a look at this on the right side. Last year was the lowest rate for NFL kick returns, so they've decided to do something about that. And this is what the rule change looks like. They essentially start at the 35-yard line. That's where the ball's kicked from. You've got the defenders on the other side, 40-yard line. And there's a minimum of 9 members that are in the receiving team that will line up between the 30 and 35-yard line. And then from there, when the play begins, the ball carrier either catches it on the ground in this blue zone or they let it bounce into the end zone. But you must return it. It's part of the problem is people just letting balls go out into the end zone. Now they're requiring you to return it. You can't just knee it there. You cannot just take a knee. So
I don't know about that. That
they're
look a
trying to force more
little
returns.
XFL.
Yeah.
That looked
Yeah.
like arena ball XFL type.
They got the rule from the XFL. That's where it came from originally.
Yeah.
They took it and they were transparent about that. That's where they got it from. So no fair catches. Yeah, just trying to boost up offense is what it looks like. Okay. And I just wanted to see if you had any other questions. Timothy also asked off topic, do you think we will ever see Shohei Ohtani type NFL player, a player that plays offense and defense? So basically, if your answer is not Travis Hunter, who else is it?
Yeah, it's gonna be a guy like Travis Hunter. It's gonna start happening. It's gonna be some guys that can do both. Play tight end, play D end. You're gonna see it. It's just coming. It's gonna take a little bit of time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's tough to play all those snaps. Take a look at those snaps that Travis Hunter plays. This dude is tired, man. He's all over the
Right.
field. He's getting like 11 catches and getting a bunch of tackles and interceptions. I'm like, man, what is this guy doing?
Yeah, you can't do
But
it full time like that. That's too much.
yeah, it takes a special kind of athlete for all that, man. So I appreciate everyone coming in here. Make sure y'all hit that like and subscribe button. TD, you got anything else for us? I mean, we've been on here 2 hours, so I want to get you out of here. I had a bunch of other questions I could have asked you, but that'll probably do it for today. We got some really good content. I think this is a really great episode.
Right, right. Outside of my favorite, because the only rookie that I've studied was the wide receivers and the running backs. And I would say the one question that I did want to answer was my favorite wide receiver was Brian Thomas. I
Oh,
think his
yeah.
height, speed, athletic ability is going to be great, and he's going to the Cowboys. You know, I love the Cowboys. Running back, I would say it'd be Trey Benson. I think Trey Benson reminds me of Edgerrin James. I think he could catch 50 or 60 passes and also take a workload of 250 carries or more. So I could see Trey Benson going to the Chargers. I think he's going to go to the Chargers, and I see Brian Thomas going earlier than what people think. He might not go before Malik Neighbors, but I think he could go after Malik Neighbors and Marvin Harrison.
Okay, and do you have so I guess two things. Do you with the running backs, you're a former running back, right?
Right.
So do you have any thoughts on how like overall market value has kind of changed and lowered for the running back position, and how do you think that impacts this rookie class?
So, in a stereotypical vacuum way, the running backs have lost value, but I actually think it's a chance for them to make more money than they ever made, especially with the new collective bargaining agreement coming up. Let me
Okay.
tell you why. I believe the game is changing to hybrids. I believe there's going to be guys catching 100 balls and also rushing for about maybe 800 to 1,000 yards. So what I would tell you, imagine Tyreek Hill playing running back. Imagine Jamar Chase playing running back. Imagine a guy like Justin Jefferson playing running back. That's what you're going to see in the future. So just like you see Joel Embiid bringing the
Yeah.
ball up the court, you see
Hmm.
Nikola Jokic bringing the ball up the court with 10 or 15 assists. That's what you're going to see with running backs. You're going to see running backs like Alvin Kamara that's going to be playing wide receiver full time, and also getting about 12 or 13 carries. No, you're not going to see 20 carries a game from no player. Why would you do that when it's going to ruin your career? So what you're going to do, you're going to see about 3 guys that's getting about 7 or 8 carries a game, and everybody else is going to be catching passes. And then you're going to be able to go and get $20 million a year. Why? Because you're going to say, listen, I caught 100 balls. I'm a wide receiver. So they got to pay you like a wide receiver. So they're not going to be able to put that running back franchise tag on you. They're going to have to pay you as a wide receiver. And that's what the guys are going to fight for in the new collective bargaining agreement, where
I
Travis
like it.
Kelce, you got to pay him as a wide receiver because he's catching 100 balls. You're not going to be able to pay these guys
Oh
as a
my gosh.
position. It's going to be positionless.
You're making some great points. Why has Travis Kelce been so underpaid? It's crazy. And then for the running backs too, I like that because we've seen the college game. The most athletic players, they're just going to play wide receiver now. They're
Right.
not messing around with playing running backs because their parents are telling them, "Hey, this is where the money is." They don't. Not only is it a more dangerous position, and yeah, they're doing everything they can to make it more healthy or safe, but it's just one of those things where it's just a business decision. You could just be a nice, Debo Samuel type if you're a running back instead of trying to just go up the middle and get beat down every play.
Right. That's what you're gonna see. You're gonna see Debo's. You see, Debo got a
Yeah,
bag, didn't he? Debo
yeah.
got a bag.
He said, "Pay
He
me
got
for
paid
both
as a wide
positions."
receiver. Right. Right. And they was trying to fight him and pay him as a running back, but he was like, "No, I'm not going for that." So that's what guys are gonna do. They're gonna come in as a hybrid like Debo and get that bag as a wide receiver. So running backs, the position is gonna change.
Yeah, and the other thing I was going to ask was about the Brian Thomas point you made. Do the wide receivers, for your ranking, do you ever view things for Dynasty specifically? Do you ever view things in cornerstone rankings where it's more like, hey, if you're a player under 25, and maybe that's more for a rebuild, but sometimes like how we had that big list, right? It's hard to get everyone on that list, but at the same time, that you know the direction that Mike Evans is heading. Like, I don't really need him on the rankings. You know what Keenan Allen's future is about to look like. Same with
Right.
Devontae Adams. You know they're going to produce this year, and at some point they're
Right.
not going to be playing NFL, and that's okay. We love what they did for the game, but the cornerstone rankings, when you're just focused on players that are top 25, you get the benefit of the trade value that they're going to continue to have while they're still producing in their prime. And you know that you've got at least a couple of years with them on your roster if you don't want to trade them. Do you ever do cornerstone rankings, or are you really just focused on, hey, let me just get these win now pieces and go from there?
I think you need a mixture. So this is what I would say. I would ask you, how old is Elijah Moore?
Elijah Moore on the Browns, I think, is about 24. And I can
Right.
check. And I
Right.
think I know where you're headed with
And
this.
yes, yeah, yeah. And then
He's
I
young
would
but hasn't
say
done
I don't want
anything.
to. Right. And then you go to a wide receiver that's like, let me see here.
Yeah, he was born in March 27th. Today is Elijah Moore's birthday, March 27th, 2000. So he's 24 as of today.
Wow. Wow. I didn't know it was his birthday.
Here's the proof.
Ironic.
Boom. Yeah, crazy.
But I will also go to give me an older wide receiver that's kind of maybe a little bit outside the top 24. But he's okay. I'm trying to think of a guy.
Yeah, that's a good point. If you're only getting these young guys,
Michael
they might not all
Michael
hit.
Thomas. Michael
Uh,
Thomas. I would rather have Michael Thomas on my team than have Elijah Moore. So to me,
even now?
I want young superstar. Yes, I would do it. Yeah, because Michael Thomas is probably going to go into a team where they're going to give him certain amount of really good targets. Where Elijah Moore, you're just going to be like hoping for stuff, and he's not really going to never be targeted enough for his value. So
Yeah.
sometimes that's how I look at it. So I want Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson and CJ Stroud. And then in the meat of my team, I want a little bit of Mike Evans with a little bit of Alvin Kamara, and I take maybe a Jonathan Taylor, and then I maybe take another rookie wide receiver like a Xavier Worthy. And that's how I work out my team. I don't want a whole team of young guys because a lot of times you just have a team for show and you never hit. Like I got
Yeah.
a man, it's a team in my league, man. They got a bunch of young players and they're not winning. And then you got these teams where you're like, hey man, he got Aaron Rodgers and they end up winning like the championship. I'm like, damn. So like look at Jared Goff. I won a championship
Yeah.
with Jared Goff as my quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. You can't overvalue the what if. I like the players that have proven something in that cornerstone range. Now, there's
Right.
definitely going to be guys like a Marvin Harrison Jr. that have done nothing in the league, and it's more of a projection. Even they can miss. So I absolutely get what you're saying there. Like a George Pickens. It was someone that I had a question for you on. But this is a good example. He's 23. Right at this moment before the draft, he's the number one wide receiver, but he hasn't really had consistent production. We saw some good spots this past season. Would you rather have George Pickens? Well, I don't know a good example, but is that a player where you would go with a veteran that you definitely like, or would you just roll with George Pickens, hoping that this is the year that he breaks out? Because I like getting ahead of the breakouts, because then the price goes up, and even if you're not a
Right.
fan, you can trade them away for the value.
Right. So you said a veteran compared to George Pickens, right?
Yeah, and because we happen to just do a tier list, I can just pull that up.
Right.
And
Yeah, pull that up if you don't mind.
yep. So we've got, and I'm going to move our pictures out of the way.
Okay.
So,
Let's
we got
see.
Pickens. He's here in the middle C tier. He's the fourth player. He's 23 years old, had 12.5 points per game last year. Would you just and I'm talking someone who's outside of that 25 years of age, right? So
Right. I would take Deontay Johnson, but I wouldn't
Okay.
do it last year, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Because it was really the quarterback play for both Pickens and Deontay why they couldn't really get it done.
Right.
But
Right.
even in the same tier, would you rather have? I mean, it seems like a no-brainer, but I mean, Mike Evans. Would you rather have Mike Evans or Pickens if you're in the win now team?
I would
Like,
rather have
and
Mike
knowing
Evans.
you could maybe get a plus on top, like I don't know, maybe a late second back with Mike Evans for
Right.
George Pickens.
Right. Yes, I would rather have Mike Evans for a win now, but that's not on every single team. It just depends what
Yeah.
else I got. If I got a lot of strong other guys, then I'm okay with riding out with Pickens. But if Pickens is my best wide receiver, I can't go into the season with Pickens as my best wide receiver.
Right. Yeah, because you're really just hoping that something happens, and we still have the draft in front of us that could mess some stuff up for us too. Yeah. Okay. Well, anything else? I had a bunch of questions, man. And I absolutely had a good time. I'm gonna do a quick look, but anything else you can think of?
No, not right now, man. If you wanna, we can always do something else, man. We can come back and talk about that. You can ask me the questions, but right off, um, I'm just telling guys, make sure you have a plan in Dynasty to if you want to win a championship or if you're rebuilding. Make sure don't get caught in the in between. It's kind of like what the Bible says, a man that you can't serve two masters.
Yeah.
So I think you need to know that if you rebuilding and then rebuild, or if you're trying to win, then you win. Now,
Yeah.
sometimes you might be where you're trying to rebuild and then you go 5-1 and 6-1. Then I think you can transfer and then you can say, you know what, I need to go and buy on some running backs to try to go ahead and win. So make sure you just have a plan and stick to the plan and don't get off your plan because of smoke and mirrors and rankings and stuff like that. That's all I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. I like that. And let me add to that. So, for one, I just want to say that you do need to go all in on one of those directions because
Right.
if you're going to tank, you want the last pick or you want to be last so you can get the first pick in the draft. It's just going to help you whether you trade that pick or not. You want to be in the driver's seat. You don't want other people beating you to that because if there's multiple teams tanking, you know, once they start selling their good players away, well, now there's going to be fewer buyers, and the demand goes down for the supply of these aging veterans that you're trying to get off of your team. So you want to be first to get rid of those players. And yeah, we're in March, so it still feels early, but really right after the season ends, or even as the season's winding down, you want to be already have known that you want to rebuild and start moving those players on. And just with each position, the running backs, I was mentioning age cliffs. Running back, I think it's around 28 to 31. If you're a player who's an elite player, I have seen the longevity is higher for elite players. So Derrick
Right.
Henry can still keep going. An Adam
Right.
Thielen, who is
CMC.
produced at a high level, can still keep
Mhm.
producing.
Right.
DeAndre Hopkins, Mike Evans. These players like Devontae Adams, they're going to continue to produce. I have the wide receivers age cliff from 31 to 34. It just depends on the player. Tight end, like 32 to 35. Travis Kelce right now is about to be 35. The quarterback's 36 to 40. Unless you're Tom Brady, he was playing at a high level and producing for fantasy until 42. But you saw a Drew Brees and Peyton Manning having kind of limited throw power, even though Manning won that Super Bowl. It was really the defense doing a lot of the work. So that's kind of the range there, but you still have like in this 36 to 40 range, you got Matt Stafford right now, and I think Kirk Cousins and Rodgers.
Right.
There's injuries there, but Joe Flacco just won comeback player of the year at 39. That you can still play. Those are guys who have been to Super Bowls or close or produced at a high level. So something to take into account there. And really, only other point I wanted to make before we got out of here is because of the pro days and I was getting really hype on Malik Neighbors. I put out a short earlier, getting excited about the combine, but you don't want to double count what we already knew. I already knew that Malik Neighbors was really fast. Okay. So I don't necessarily want to see, oh, he got this 4.35. Now he's the best player in the draft. Like, Xavier Worthy, we did know he was the best player in the draft, or the fastest player coming in. Now that he's on the Chiefs, that's a different conversation. That's new information. But just because of the combine doesn't mean he should have flown up. But now that he's on Chiefs, that's a little bit different. I do take into account landing spots, because if you're going to a bad team, that's tough. But if you're going to a well-run organization, there is an actual dynamic in play there that matters for folks. So, yeah, man. I think that'll do it for us. Let me close this thing out. Get you back on the screen. Sorry about that. So, yeah. Last couple comments here, just to knock them out. We got, hey, great duo. Appreciate that.
You, bro.
Appreciate that. George Pickens versus T. Higgins. What do you think, TD?
If George Pickens goes to a different team with a good quarterback, I would go to George Pickens. T. Higgins right now, because he played with Joe Burrow, like you said earlier.
Yeah. Oh. And too much of an optimist. I always think I got a shot. You do always have a shot.
You do.
All right. Well, again, I appreciate you coming on, TD. This is TD with Fantasy Good Sports. Let them know where they can find you.
Guys, you can find me on any social media platform, from TikTok to Instagram, YouTube, at Fantasy Good Sports. All you got to do is type it in with the E at the end of good, and you can find me. Cutting edge content. Also, guys, be looking forward to my draft guide. I got a draft guide coming out for $24.99, but you can get that. If you sign up as a Phenom Crew, you don't have to pay for it. You just got to stay on. It's a Google document, so I'm going to share that document to my Phenom Crews. But if you just want to buy it, then you can do whatever you want to do with it, and it's going to be $24.99. And I think I'm going to break it down in like, it's going to be very different than most draft guides. I'm just going to focus on players that I like, and I'm going to tell you how to draft with different strategies, from zero RB to robust RB to mobile quarterback to waiting late to get a quarterback. So make sure you get that draft guide. It's going to be the best things, one of the best things that I ever offered from my channel, my subscribers.
Okay, so you gave them a little sneak peek with that earlier, because we were talking about that. There's definitely value in just getting the higher percentage stud wide receiver, but I'm not going to steal your thunder. But absolutely, there is a correlation there. People do like to just think we just got to take those quarterbacks, but hey, you can build a team a different way. And I am at Dynasty Football Key. Well, for Twitter, it's actually Dynasty F Key. But everywhere else, you can find me Dynasty Football Key on Twitch, Spotify. Got a Discord. Jump in there, please, and keep the discourse going. We can talk about how we got people ranked. Just talk about the draft. We can help you with your roster reviews. Get yours on the show and do one for you there. Got a Patreon. Happy to support you guys over there too. I want to get y'all a draft guide as well. And yeah, really good episode. Thanks everyone for coming out. Y'all are what makes the show happen, and your voice really matters, so I appreciate it. So thanks everyone, and I hope to see you in the next video.
Yep.
Peace.
Peace.